I see us.
Yeah, there we go. Hello, everyone. Wow.
Hello.
Welcome to the stream, guys. It's tea time today, okay? And there are a few things to talk about today, and they're all balanced, as it turns out. We have, on this rare occasion, we actually get to talk about something beforehand, right? Normally this doesn't happen. They just go, oh yeah, here's the balance patch, by the way. It's a Tuesday. It's 5 p.m. UK time, of course, and then they just say, oh yeah, enjoy. Like try and figure out like how you're gonna. What's your new chrono build going to be for this for the next 3 months? Okay, that's how they're actually one of the big gold sinks in the game. Is that every 3 months they force all the chronos to fully regear. That's a big thing.
It's
actually.
a good system. System.
It is a good system, and the better system is now they're market manipulating. Arena is market manipulating their own food by removing 70 precision from everyone. So now everyone needs to use truffle steak. So it's really good. Well,
Oh boy.
A lot of people need to use it.
And of course, a lot of ArenaNet devs bought into this.
Exactly. They all mass bought out all the truffle steaks. So there's
especially as those that left the company, because there are no repercussions.
Exactly.
For
that they're allowed to do that now. To start things off though, I actually want to go on a slightly different angle. Roca, you beat the hardest boss in Dark Souls. Is that correct?
I don't think it's the hardest boss, but
we
it's
saw
one of the harder bosses, I guess.
Nameless.
Everybody keeps saying, "Oh, just wait for the DLCs."
Yep.
Those bosses, those aren't actually hard,
Yeah.
But they're right; they aren't. Like, it's easy. The easiest game I've ever played.
So you'd say easy, like easy game. Easy game.
I think it took me more tries to kill Samurok for the first time than it took me to kill that boss for the first time. So I guess it's safe to say that Guild Wars 2 is the harder game, right?
So,
pretty much.
So Guild Wars, you're gonna So Guild Wars 2 is confirmed harder than Dark Souls.
Confirmed harder than Dark Souls,
okay.
Obviously.
All right, okay, yeah. Oh yeah, guys. If the stream implodes, just refresh it. It's like this weird hosting glitch. You just have to roll with it, guys. You just have to roll with it. Okay. There's nothing to be done about it. Just enjoy. Okay. Anyway.
It's an amazing game though. It's super fun. It's super cool. Loved it. All the way through.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's kind of like a lot of Samrogs, It's like mega Samrog, but attacks way faster. And also
visually, yeah, you can really see that they had some impressions from Dark Souls for Wing 4.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm actually wondering, I wondered if they got mechanically inspired by Dark Souls as well, but then they just toned it down
and made it really easy.
Yeah, sometimes I think maybe the Samurok, the Shockwave, it has such a slow build-up, and what Dark Souls does is sometimes it has attacks have slow build-ups just to be surprisingly fast then, so you can't react on time. And so I was wondering, maybe they made this build-up for Samurok Slam so slow, so he'd be insta-smashing on the ground, right? To surprise everybody, and then they were maybe that's too hard, and made it easy.
It's too difficult. It's too difficult. We need some nice, easy content for Wing 4. But you know what? Everything is going to getting it harder though, because they nerf banners, right? Everything's going to get more difficult. But so
raids are unbeatable now.
In terms of yeah, exactly, they're impossible. With 70,
the community's attitude is certainly that way. Yeah,
we've lost a lot of stats, right? So raids are fully impossible at this point. But
it is a nasty change. This is the kind of change that I was hoping we wouldn't see for a while. The kind of change that fucks around with precision, so that every build kind of has to change something. I think it actually doesn't affect as many builds as I initially thought it would. There's a lot of builds that I think slightly overcapped already.
It's not too bad, because it's the amount of precision you lose is the exact same amount that you can get from a food as well.
Yeah,
and a cheaper food. So it's not really that bad, is it? So if you're forced to use and it is annoying because now I can't always use the same food on power classes, which is kind of annoying. But still, these things happen. But in kind of in a general overview of the balance patch, let's go for that at the start, right? So in terms of PvE, a lot of things happen to PvE actually. Okay. Yeah. We're seeing basically they want to make the buffs a bit less passive, right? With the banners and the spirits, they want to make you actually have a bit of gameplay, and they also want to buff some different classes up, right? They want to make a Might Stack Tempest a bit better. They want to make Heal Tempest a bit better, Heal Scrapper a bit better. Now, you know what is really depressing about this, and this is something that me and Angeels talked about, is that what is going to happen is that they're going to keep buffing these classes, because everyone says like, oh yeah, heal Ellie. No, why would you run heal Ellie and no druid, right? Like, oh, ooh, why would you run a heal scrapper? But the thing is, they're just going to keep buffing it until it becomes absolutely insane. Like my prediction is that heal Ellie is going to be completely ridiculous actually with this patch. I think that it already is in a way. Like heal Ellie is so strong. It's really, really powerful. And the same can be said of heal scrapper as well. But no one really plays it in raids, right? And so ArenaNet go, okay, all right, no one's playing heal Ellie and heal scrapper, huh? So I guess we better buff it really, really hard, and we're just going to keep doing it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
and
the thing is,
here we find ourselves, guys. Now we've got 10 target shouts, and the gyros. The gyros can't be killed either, so they'll just keep going forever, and you get more super speed too.
well, heal Ellie was I think in like a kind of awkward spot where you had to like give up so much healing to provide the might that it's like that I never found it worth it really. Like you'd basically have to like give up the staff. You'd have to give up arcane trade line or water trade line, like kind of your choice if you wanted to like provide might and fury and some actually significant buffing, right? So it's in a way I think it's kind of cool that it might be able to like do the entire might thing on oh no, never mind. But it will have so many wounds. It's actually going to be pretty incredible. Yeah. The thing is, from like a hardcore speak clear perspective, is that it still doesn't beat Druid, right? Because it can't beat spirits and it can't beat most of the boons that it still applies, right? Druid still like is probably the best source for vigor and stuff like that. So I guess most people just look at these runs and they all see like, no, the pros, they run the Druid.
Yeah,
like they do one Druid max. So
exactly that's a bit of a shallow analysis, right, of what's actually good, or the power level of the class. It's not that it's better or worse than anything else. It's just that it's different, right? But what I really find laughable is that when people talk about healers and raids, right? Like if you actually compare the numbers of healing, if you compare like a heal Ellie's output to say a druid's actual healing output, it's quite amusing actually. Like the heal Ellie is going to be so insane now. Already you were getting over like 10k health a second on Ellie, kind of potential. Now with 10 target shouts, it's just going to be completely off the chain. Like it's going to be a giant meme. Okay, and you can also honestly even on staff you can provide decent might as well just by going, if you have some boon duration, go in with the 10 target shout trait, right? If you just go fire overload, which is 10 targets, all the shouts give 2 might. Like feel the burn gives 5 might, 10 targets. And then with the crows, it's going to get extended out a lot as well. So you're going to have decent might, honestly. Decent might, even with staff, actually. And obviously nowhere near the boon support level of the Warhorn setup, which is, I think, what's they more intended. I don't think they intended the boon share build to be a healer at the same time. I think it's almost supposed to be what we see more from the Nike setup and the Majestic Noodle setup, right? With the like the DPS hybrid. So it's like a Condi DPS boon support hybrid build that does like protection, might, and fury and stuff like that, which is pretty cool, I think. All on 10 target, and it extends boons too.
As soon as you just drop the staff, like you just lose so much healing that you kind of have to make that choice, right? Do you want to be hard carry heal, or do you want to like carry boons? Yeah. Like that choice is still kind of there, right? Like because once you drop the staff, you actually lose a lot of healing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is still going to be there. I mean, you could take. I mean, you'll have very minimal healing if you go for the DPS setup, right? With the scepter and the Warhorn, right? Like you can still wash the pain away or something like that, right?
Yeah, that's going to be strong. You still have the aura trade, right? You can still like if you're gonna do like a all shouts kind of build, then you're going to like spam auras way more as well, right? And using the aura heal trade, that's going to heal for a good amount. So it's still good healing. Absolutely. It's just not the massive super healing that a staff would provide.
I certainly see that we'll be using it. I'm actually going to look. I'm glad you said that because I'm going to address your massive misapprehension and misunderstanding of raids right now. Okay. I mean, will it be used in speedruns? No. But does that mean that you shouldn't play it or that it's bad? No. I mean, look. Okay. Think about this, guys. Okay. If say there was let's talk about Veil Guardian, right? So suppose that on Veil Guardian, okay, Guardian did 10k DPS, and it's a lot more than that, but let's just say 10k, okay, for just for the example, if Hollow-Smith did 9,999 DPS, okay, Hollow-Smith would not be used in the speedrun, right? The Guardian would be used in the speedrun, even though it does 1 DPS less. Okay, so does that mean that Hollow-Smith is bad? Of course not. It just means it's not exactly best in slot, right? That's just not how stuff works.
Is used on VG speedruns though, for your information.
Yeah, but just for the example, just for the sake of the example, right? Okay.
It's like watching I'm gonna go back to Dark Souls, right? It's like watching a Dark Souls no-hit run, and you're like, oh, he doesn't use any armor, so I should use any armor when I play Dark Souls. That's how it works, right?
Yeah, but look, guys, if you look at a speedrun, you're always gonna see the optimal, right? They've got the spreadsheets, right? They've got the numbers. They're crunching them down, right? They know exactly what the best composition is on every boss, vaguely. Okay, maybe there's a bit of flex, but okay.
There's so many details to speedruns that often I think people don't even see that make certain classes optimal for it, that you wouldn't even necessarily think about when you're just watching it, right? That might not even be optimal in a pug run, right? Because longer phases, or because certain classes are used because they speed up split phases rather than speeding up boss phases, right? Because that's the bigger time gain sometimes. So it's not even necessarily the strongest class DPS wise for a boss.
Yeah, I think that's a big problem that is perhaps a topic for another time, because we've already got sidetracked. But yeah, I think the way again the community looks at builds in a very simplified way, right? It's like, oh, this build does less DPS than this build is. It's trash, right? But that's not necessarily the case, right? Or this build doesn't give me that sick 5% damage modifier. It's terrible, okay? And it's a sad thing. I think the meta is a lot less important than people actually think it is, right? They go, oh wow, we must play Druid. We must play only thieves on this boss, right? For some reason, or only Mirage. The big one is only Mirages on Largos, right? No one will play anything else except Mirage on Largos. But really, it's not that concrete, guys. No Chronos is probably the limit. If you play without quickness and alacrity, you're gonna want to quit the game, right? No one wants that. Not even one. No. I mean, it is doable though. In fact, I have done that recently. I did a training Veil Guardian where we had 2 core guards. And I think a base Engie, a Scrapper, okay, and some Reapers as well. And we almost killed it. It wasn't, it took a while. We actually enraged, guys. We enraged. But anyway, so back to the general overview, right, of the balance patch. PvE got a lot of cool stuff, more options, I think, and some toning down of the imbalance of Warrior. Although I'm surprised with Warrior that they didn't go. They didn't go for reducing the damage and keeping the buffing strong. They just kept it. We can't fix the Warrior's DPS. We'll just leave it like that. And then World versus World is affected by these changes as well, primarily with some very nice buffs to Scrapper and Heal Ellie, which is a bit. If anything, that's a bit alarming. And I think this is where we can bring in Angeels in this, right? Because Heal Ellie and Scrapper were actually already very powerful, right? Okay.
Yes.
And both of them used in high-level GVG, right? And in that organized 15 setting, right? And have incredible support capabilities, like the Ellie with its with the res power, extreme cleanse, extreme healing. That's only going to get more. And the same is true, of course, of Scrapper. Scrapper with with the amazing Purity of Purpose Antitoxin rune build, the Slayer of Condies, the Annihilator of Condies, and also with capable of rezzing and revealing and stealthing your allies. And now it's going to have additional supportive capabilities by reducing the damage taken by your team much more effectively, right, because of the rework to gyros. So why don't you tell us a little bit what's going to happen to Scrapper in World versus World, actually, Angeels? What's going on with those gyros, man?
So of course gyros are now becoming untargetable, right? Which is it's a massive buff to Scrapper, because particularly Bulwark Gyro, the biggest problem you had was that it was just instantly dead. Okay, you could pop it for maybe 2 or 3k damage reduction for the party, but then it's gone because it had such little health in the first place. So, but the difference is, right, is that the damage goes onto you, It also pulses barrier, so I don't know. Like you're getting so much damage reduction now out of bow up Gyro for your party, and you can probably sustain it. If not, you can just invuln it anyway. But like it's they're great changes and they're much needed changes for Scrapper, but at the same time, it's like yeah, I don't know. They're really buffing something that's already ridiculously strong, and it's just going to cause more power creep and further problems later on in the game.
Mm.
But they're saying that they can hear me twice.
I think it. Well,
which is weird.
That is weird. I think there's a little bit of an echo, but that's okay. Well, that no, I don't. No, I think I just reduced the volume. It should be okay. And I think that's something that we see across all of the Guild Wars 2 balance really. We are seeing a lot of these specializations as being kind of in World vs. World, Firebrand's really good. So what can we do? Should we nerf Firebrand? How about we just buff everything else, right? And then bring it up to that level. And that's kind of what we see. I'm not exactly opposed to that. I'm not exactly opposed to that. But I do think that the power creep of the game is a really it's a big problem, right? Especially I would say especially in World versus World and PvP. I think in PvE it's like who cares, right? Like if the power level is relatively uniform across all the classes, it doesn't really matter what rung of the ladder it's actually at, right? In terms of raid balance and I guess it can end up trivializing stuff if it gets too high. But that again, I mean that kind of happened with dungeons, I suppose, in a way. But still.
I'd say it's already happening with raids, though. Like, skipping mechanics and whatnot because of high DPS is like already an issue. So yeah, I don't know.
No, I think that's a fair statement actually. Like, if you look at raids, if you look at these speed kills, of course they're a little bit trickier to execute, right? But
of course,
these bosses are dying. Like, even if you're a relatively competent group, they're dying. If you take away the speedrun factor, if you're a relatively competent group, like Veil Guardian's going to die in like 3 minutes, right? It's going to get absolutely destroyed.
Yeah.
And the phase times, like it's not uncommon in a decent group to see a Veil Guardian phase happen within one green circle, right? Like you don't have to deal with the mechanics ever, right? And that's true across a lot of bosses, right? It'll just be too. Like, everything dies so fast, right? And as a result of that, you don't really engage with the fight. And then, of course, like you have a lot of these classes that bring a crazy amount of cheese to the fight as well, right? Like, so like Druid applies like all the boons while healing at the same time. Like Chrono is distorting is still applying Aegis to block everything. And I don't know. And then if you go to the dark side, then you say, well, you've got stuff like Heal Ellie and Heal Necro, which just absolutely destroys raids. Like, I actually think that Heal Necro, this is one of my favorite builds to play, guys. I actually think it should be deleted from the game. Like that, it's just not right. The fact that something like that even exists, in my opinion. The only consolation I have with Heal Necro is that 90% of players are so bad on it. Okay, it actually looks a lot less overpowered than it actually is in most groups.
Honestly, that's the same for Scrapper and World v. World. Like, a lot of people just don't play it right, and therefore, they completely undervalue its effectiveness. But, we just saw with the GVG tournament, team with 3 Scrappers absolutely dominated, I think 5-0 every round. So, like, and there's a reason for that. It's completely fucking busted.
Well, I think that kind of comparison there is an interesting one, because in that GVG tournament it was HOT limited, right, which is going on right now, and in a way it's like a demonstration of the power creep, right? We see the Scrapper, which is I would say certainly at POF power levels, right? Okay, it just shuts down so hard, right? The HOT classes, right? They were trying to play like Condi Rev versus Heal Scrapper, which is totally worthless, right? That you're not going to do anything versus a Heal Scrapper with Condi Revs and stuff. So it's I don't know. It's not ideal. I think the way the game has gone, but it is worrying to see the power creep across the entire game get so strong, and to be frank, it is only going to get more. It's going to intensify with the upcoming balance patch with the heal Ellie and the heal Scrapper as well. Again, it's really difficult to say. Does this matter? Does it not matter? Because I suppose again, like in high level rating, like no, these changes probably don't really do that much. Like, in fact, the biggest change is probably like the banner nerf at the end of the day, right? It's like, oh no, my stats, no. But I guess in World versus World again, equalizing the power level between some of these older specs, like bringing them up to snuff, is maybe not the worst thing, but when you actually look at what these classes can now do, it's just crazy. Like everything is 10 targets, right? Everything is just constantly spamming cleanses, spamming everything insanely hard. Like the actual amount of output that these classes have is just gonna get crazy, right? And it is worrying. It is a little bit worrying. Because when you look at the way the game gets changed, right, with regards to the balance, it's kind of you kind of think, okay, this is you could almost be tricked into thinking that ArenaNet want the game to be like this, right? They want, yes, we want all these classes to be about the power level, because like, they're adjusting everything up, right? Okay, they don't want to nerf anything. No. And even when we get to the PvP discussion, then we can talk about some nerfs, right? But even there, they just pick at things, right? They just pick at things. We don't see a lot of drastic changes. We see drastic buffs, right? But we don't really see drastic nerfs or drastic power flattenings across the board, and it is a little bit concerning across all game modes as well, right? I think if you really wanted to for raids, if you wanted to make a composition that would just never die, it would be pretty easy to do that. Like I think I think the challenge of the game actually kind of gets lower if you actually think about it. Like if you really wanted to, if you really understood actual imbalance in Guild Wars 2, you could make raids so incredibly uninteresting, actually, by just building like the ultimate face roll comp, and you could just completely stomp everything. But maybe that's what ArenaNet wants. Who knows? What do you guys think about that? The way the game's going in that term.
I'd say it's like it's an interesting question, right? Like, what does ArenaNet want in their long term like goals for balance, right? Because we just don't know. They've never said anything about it, and it just seems to be all over the place, like random buffs. It's very short term thinking, I'd say. Very short term. They're going through.
I don't know. I don't think it's like terrible power creep going on currently. Like most groups will probably have an easier time if they bring like the new Ellie or something. But it's not like Ellie like suddenly makes every raid easy, right? If you brought a heal Scourge before, that was just as easy, and if you brought a Druid before, that had those buffs as well, right? So I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm not too unhappy with what it is like right now, to be honest.
Rocky, you say that you don't feel there's a lot of power creeping going on, but I think that's because it's already happened.
Oh yeah, it has already happened. But like this patch is actually, I think, even taking it down a little bit with the banner nerfs, because that's like
sure in PvE, sure.
In PvE, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Hard for me to judge PvP because I play it so little.
No, I get that. That's fine.
And it is true that they're going to be nerfing the DPS, but I think the actual power creep in PvE is mostly more like a utility creep, actually.
The thing is, what I would actually say is I actually kind of enjoy that you can often kind of undo boss mechanics through game mechanics. That's something that I personally like being able to invul greens, being able to like skip certain phases, etc. To me, that adds depth to a boss fight, that adds like a skill ceiling, because I can improve to the point where I can kind of undo these, and I can even like change my squad composition to a more aggressive comp, because I know how to deal with certain mechanics or to undo them. That to me adds this interesting factor of maybe in like half a year after a raid has been released, there's going to be some awesome speed kill that manages to like skip a mechanic that you never thought was skippable, right? And I kind of don't like when boss fights force you to do Do you know what I mean? Like, I kind of don't like when they take that away. Like when they like make boss mechanics impossible to play around. You know, like an example for this might be like the recent Fractal. Um, that's kind of an example where the game kind of forces you to play the mechanic rather than using game mechanics to get around the encounter mechanic, right? Do you know the stealth room there?
Yeah.
Like if you could, I thought it would be really cool if you could stealth in there to like kind of counter these ice that are flying around, right? But you can't, right? Like it's an example of where like an encounter mechanic is like beats the game mechanics, right? And I like it when you can use game mechanics to get around stuff like this. To me, that adds like a whole nother level of depth. That to me, like as a, I guess, hardcore raider, like as a speedrunner for raids, to me that adds this level that makes the boss actually interesting. And I think that's why a lot of the old bosses are still some of the favorite bosses as well, because you can do stuff like this, and they often you can still find something interesting like this that you can do.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
no, I
for
think
example,
I think it's a really good point. It's a really interesting perspective there as well. I do think that maybe it's gone a little bit too far though. When I don't know.
maybe like I am like I guess a little bit extreme in that opinion, because I am very deep in that kind of scene of player base that goes for this exactly, right? And I totally understand that people like that mechanics should have to be done. I don't know. To me, bosses become less fun the more you're forced to do every single mechanic. The less you can do to like to play around it. To me, then those bosses like depth. Then those bosses kind of like Cairn became twice as interesting, I think, when people started figuring out that you can stab the greens, you know, and that you can actually do something to improve the boss even more. It's like Zera became more interesting to me when people found out that you can skip the first laser and stuff like this.
Well, I mean, not to be a contrarian, but it's the exact opposite for me. I find that when you figure out a way to do that, it makes the fight a lot less interactive and just incredibly it just becomes you might as well just go hit the golem, right? In my opinion, right? It's
when that came out though, that was actually really hard to do for a lot of groups, right? It's just like skipping updrafts on Gorzaval. When the first group did it, that was still considered to be really hard, and very few people did it. And then eventually, it just became easier because classes became stronger and like people figured it out more. And then
now everybody's doing it.
Well, imagine the like I don't know. Imagine Zera had twice as much HP or something. Imagine that was something like that.
I think that
would be like extremely hard to do. So only like the proper try-harding people would even be able to do it.
Well, it's true, but again, like think about what that would actually do. Like if Zera had twice the HP, you could probably still get away with it. Like if you were really really good at DPS, you could probably still skip the laser, right? But if you do that, right? If you skip that mechanic, like it just trivializes so much of the entire fight. It negates so many of the mechanics in the actual fight. Like to me, that just makes it incredibly uninteractive and just not entertaining at all, if that makes any sense, right? It's just,
well, to me, it's a reward for being good at the game. You know, like your DPS players know what they're doing, your support classes know what they're doing, and they're able to provide all the buffs. You're good at the game, you get to skip the phase. If your people don't know how to do it, if you can't pull the DPS, and you see this regularly still, like Zera is an example where you regularly see people fail to this. At least I regularly in PUC see people fail the DPS check for that, right? Then you don't get to do it, right? To me, that's like a reward for improvement and for good gameplay.
Yeah, it's fair enough.
The only issue maybe I'd have with it is that it's too easy at some point, right? Like, that would be what I would criticize maybe, is that it's too easy to get to the point where you can skip mechanics. But the fact that you can skip mechanics, I think, is actually pretty cool. I like that.
I suppose the only contention I have with that is that in my opinion it goes a bit backwards in Guild Wars 2. For example, I think that it should be mechanically harder to execute these strategies, whereas I think a great example of this is mid-strat KC. I think mid-strat KC is how it should be, right? Like doing mid-strat KC is it requires good execution from the players, right, to actually execute this well. Whereas if you're doing something like mid-strat Zera, if you're able to hit that DPS number, the fight becomes dramatically easier mechanically, right? The same with no updraft Gorsel, actually. No updraft Gorsel is the biggest culprit of this, okay? If you can do no updraft Gorsel, you don't care about the orbs, you don't care about the walls and the movement of the boss. You literally, the boss camps the middle the entire time and doesn't do anything, right? Okay, it literally does nothing. And VG is the same. If you do mid-strat VG, you literally AFK in the middle of the room doing nothing. Okay, he has one of the VG has like the most interesting tank mechanic, right? Where you have to actually move him. Like it's honestly one of the most interesting tank mechanics, and it's totally nullified by just these cheese strats. It's I don't know.
Well, for the third phase, I would actually say that's not even true. Like on third phase, it's actually kind of tricky to hold a mid and keep up, like, and even survive in like a speed clear comp. That's where you see most wipes for like the better groups.
The Seeker there did the Seeker. Wait, you
yeah,
push
exactly.
the Seeker out, right? That's fair enough.
But I get your point. It's absolutely true. Some of these bosses just they're just like too easy.
Yeah. Well, what I mean is it say the strats that a less skilled or less experienced player does should be easier to do than a harder strat. And I feel like the way that the game goes is that it allows you to trivialize this stuff just by like basically just mashing the boss really, really hard with your massive DPS, right? This is a bit of a weird quibble. I think it's almost inevitable that this is how it goes, right? Like the speedrunners will always find a way, guys. I don't really have a problem with that. Like if it's easy cheesy, right? But what I do have a problem with is that even when I raid with a relatively weak group, you end up doing this shit that just makes it just like borderline AFK, right? If you do play a heal necker, right, or even if you play 2 druids, right, it just makes it so face roll because of the amount of damage you're able to put out. Actually, I think raids would honestly be more fun if they just doubled the HP of all the bosses or just halved everyone's DPS. I think it would actually be better. It will be more fun, I think. Like, imagine Doom CM if he had 80 million health, and now we're talking, boys. And like, that might be impossible.
That'd be pretty extreme.
Yeah, that would be pretty hard. But still, I don't know. That's just my perspective on that. Like in terms of the power creep, or not necessarily the power creep, and just like the power level of the classes, right? I think it's just a bit too high. High for raiding anyway, and certainly for fractals. Like if you watch a good fractal group do fractals, like the bosses do not exist. Okay, they do not have any health. Would you prefer if raids are too hard to solo heal? No, not necessarily. No, I don't think it's not the healing. It's more like you end up not doing anything. One of the reasons why I very rarely play DPS is because I just feel like I don't do anything, right? That all you do is hit the boss at the end of the day, right? When you play, and I realize, look, I want to preface and say, I know a lot of people actually really like that in Guild Wars 2. They actually that's why they enjoy DPS, is because they can actually really get into that groove, get that rotation going down, right? But whenever I'm on my Holosmith, I'm like, wow, this is a kind of fun class, right? But ultimately, I'm literally AFK on the boss, just like grinding out this rotation to do as much damage as possible. Like that's barely even playing the game. I mean, like,
it's really fun. Yeah. We're like you and me, people. We're like two sides of the same coin, right? Like we enjoy raids, but for different reasons. Like I actually dislike having to do all the mechanics. What I enjoy is like pushing to the point where you can focus on your rotation so hard that you just see those numbers, you know. But like, and I mean, I think both have value, right? Both are. It's 2 approaches to raiding, right? Somebody enjoys mechanics, other people enjoy like the class mechanic. It's raid mechanics and class mechanics, you know? I like enjoying your class rotations, etc., versus enjoying to play the boss mechanics, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm much more of a boss mechanics kind of guy. I like the encounters rather than just playing well. I do enjoy the classes as well, but I just feel like stuff like Holosmith, like it barely has any in the context of raids, right? If you want to enjoy a Holosmith's class mechanics, you should play PvP, really. Like you'll actually see a lot more mechanics in PvP. Like you barely see anything. In terms of like actual class mechanics, you won't see anything in PvE, honestly. It's just it's just doing a rotation on the golem, right? Like if you want to do mechanics, you should. It's going to be world versus world in PvP is where you'll actually see them. Like most the case in PvP, like especially with all the kiting mobility and sustaining, you'll see from like something like a holosmith diving around the map in PvP.
To me personally, it's like the longer a raid comes out is out, the less interested I am in boss mechanics and in like the level mechanics, and the more interested I become in class rotations, pushing times, etc. Like if there were more raids coming out more regularly, I think I'd be more of a boss mechanical player. But I feel like I don't know. I don't get kicks out of going to greens on VG anymore, right? Because I don't know. It's so old.
No,
I'd rather
okay.
like.
So, I think the green thing is kind of a different one because you do actually have to counter that with something other than DPS, right? You've got a barrier or whatever to make sure that you don't die. But a lot of the boss mechanics you can just skip with straight up DPS, and I think that's where the problem lies. I don't think greens are necessarily comparable in that sense.
Well, I mean, like the thing is, it's just like you also have to do something to skip a boss phase with DPS. You have to DPS well, right? The thing is just that the bosses are like underscaled in a way, right? It's like too easy to do it, and that's why it's problematic. Right? That's why, like, if it was actually challenging to face Zara before the laser, if it was actually like really hard to have so much DPS to skip the updraft, I don't think it would be an issue, right? Then I think it would be like engaging to do so, right?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I guess what it comes down to is just way too easy, right? It's like it's far too free to do this stuff, and
that's where we come back to power creep, right? That's how it happened, right?
Well, in a way, yes. In a way, no. Like, I mean, yeah. Well, I'll say this, and then we should probably talk about the final section of the balance, which will be PvP. But like the highest power level was probably at HOT, right? Like at the start of at the start of HOT was probably the actual highest power level. Like,
when people didn't know yet.
Yeah,
that,
people didn't know about Tempest. Okay, they didn't know about 66% alacrity. I mean, that's when the game was probably at its most broken. Like, but then again, everyone was trash, right? At the same time, so that was a slightly a different thing. Like, no one really knew how to play the game at that point. But it's power creep in a way, but it's also just like people figuring things out and realizing that the game is like, ultra cheesy when you want to play the way. Someone said that it would make raids really inaccessible if you did that, and I agree. That I wasn't actually seriously suggesting that a good change would be doubling the HP of all bosses. In fact, if you doubled the HP of all bosses in Guild Wars 2 right now, like you would probably
the problem doesn't go away. It's literally the same problem. It's just a longer fight.
Well, you would also fully kill raids. I actually think that most groups would no longer be able to even do raids at all, right? In fact, I think it would honestly like 90% of groups wouldn't be able to do it anymore, and that is depressing.
I think it would be kind of a very easy challenge mode, right? Like a very, very easy challenge. Just double the HP.
Yeah.
Like the easiest to implement I could think about. Don't change mechanics, just double the HP.
Yeah.
And it will, like on some bosses it would actually make the mechanics harder to do, right? Like it would make certain strats harder to do.
Yeah. It would make it harder. The thing is, it wouldn't make it harder for a good group, really, because like the good group will just has to handle the mechanics for twice as long, roughly. Okay, but for a bad group, it would make it impossible because handling the mechanics for twice as long would be a disaster, right? A lot of groups will just like barely scrape through. Like if you've ever pugged Slothosaur, like oh boy, like, you've seen things, man. If he had twice as much HP,
having to do like double, triple rotation around the room. Oh my god!
Yeah, it'll be.
I don't want that.
It would certainly make the experience more exciting, right? But it would definitely lock people out, and I think
it would work for some bosses, and it would work pretty badly for other bosses.
Yes, absolutely right. Absolutely.
Like KC would become much more like bosses that are about DPS, basically, that have like these hard DPS. Imagine having to use more than one orb for KC to phase him, right? Even as a good group, like even like the very advanced groups can't phase him unless you use multiple orbs.
Yeah, you've got instead of one, you have to like minimum is 3 now. Like ooh, Imagine having to do like 6 burn phases, right, on KC. Like, ooh, because the one thing people don't really know about KC is that his aura starts to destroy you. Like, if you get to like the enrage on him is kind of like the timer in a way. Every minute he gains more damage, right? And if you actually get close to enrage, he will start destroying you just by ticking you out. It's really funny actually. But anyway. So look, we've gone off on a tangent again, but we're gonna bring it back to reality because the game mode that has been anticipating this patch the most. Okay, what is it?
And is most disappointed by it.
It's PvP, guys. It's PvP, and Jaw said he will basically quit the game if nothing changes. Here he is in the chat, by the way, guys.
And nothing has changed,
especially with regards to Mirage. And looking at these changes, we do see some nerfs to Soul Beast and Mirage, which are two of the most complained about classes, I would say, right? I think that's certainly true.
Yeah.
But Mirage is probably still going to be around by the looks of this. They've nerfed the Confusion output and the Torment output, okay? A little bit on the Axe Ambush, that's down, and the Axe 3 attack is also down. It's from 6 Confusion to 3 Confusion. But ultimately, I don't think it's really going to cut it. They did nerf Illusions, but no one really played that build. They nerfed the Mega Burst build, right, didn't they? So Ineptitude doesn't last as long. The Confusion that applies from blinding someone lasts only 2 seconds, down from 3 seconds. And when you hit the Omega Shatter, right, with Cry of Frustration, Cry of Pain, the trait in Illusions that causes you to inflict more confusion. It was an extra 2 stacks on your F2. That is now down to 1 stack. So yeah, you lose a good chunk of confusion on that burst. But
you run neither of those traits because you run you run Reflect on Dodge Roll and not Dodge Roll, Dodge and the Scepter trait in Illusions. So because Scepter they didn't nerf at all. So it's like actually silly.
Oh.
There we go.
Scepter is extra spicy, and in a lot of cases, Mirages won't even run Illusions either, right? Like they'll just run Chaos Inspiration. Sorry, not Chaos. Chaos Dueling with like Deceptive. Deceptive Evasion as well? I think, or are people running the Scepter trait now? But either way,
you want to run Scepter trait if you're running Scepter.
That big that extra attack speed, right?
Well, like Scepter's just so strong, dude. Like the block summoning 2 clones and applying 4 torment to the player.
Nice.
Like, what is that about? Like. Actually so busted. And Scepter 3 of course doing something like 8k damage on a Condi amulet, so there we go. But yeah, like Mirage is gone down a bit. Like 3 they've nerfed the dodge roll, the dodge from 1 second to 3/4 seconds, which is what other classes have. So it's like over 4 dodges it's like 1 second less of total evasion time, which is good. So it'll be a bit easier to hit them now. The change to Axe, I think the bigger change to Axe isn't actually the Condi damage application, it's the fact that the Axes can no longer go behind the Mirage. Because that's the thing you could do, you could like about face and still hit them with the Axes, and it was very frustrating to fight against. Because it was not the easiest thing to dodge either, or counterplay. So, that's good. But yes, they didn't nerf Scepter at all. And honestly, you'll just see more people swapping to Chrono, because Chrono is a lot easier to play and it can bunker more. And whilst in ranks it's not as big of a carry, but like in comp you're not going to see Mirage anymore. You're going to see Chrono everywhere. And just Chrono. And this is the really sad thing, right? Because in PvE, obviously, balance it is important. It's important to have parity between the classes, right? In World versus World, it's almost okay for it to be a bit of a clown fiesta. And to be honest, I think ArenaNet have given up hope on even trying to fix stuff like Necro and Firebrand. Like, that's okay, fine. We give up. We can't balance World versus World. It's over. It's PvP where it's important. The whole point of the game is to fight the other players, and it's where the changes, just the magnitude of the changes is just not enough, right? And refusing to adjust the design of some of these classes like Mirage is just a very annoying design to play against, right? It is very problematic that we don't see big, bold changes to actually shake up the meta. I think it's quite likely that the current metagame will simply persist until the next balance. Would you say that's fair, Angels? Like, it's just... I definitely say so. I mean, they've not done anything to really address stuff like Rev, you know, Rev is like, you know, it's still the biggest. You know, I don't know how Rev got through this untouched, to be honest. Like, that's actually incredible. But you know, it's, I don't know. I think it comes from their data driven. Like, I've become increasingly convinced that they just balance based off what people are playing, win rates in PvP, stuff like that. You know, you know, and that kind of describes to me why they would nerf something like Corona Burst. You know, because Hollow is still a, you know, they obviously nerfed Hollow a lot in the previous balance patch, but it's still like a high performer in ranked. You know, it's a very strong class for ranked PvP, but not in competitive. And so this is probably why we see the nerfs coming through, because it's still performing well in ranked, and it's still relatively easy to get damage off on it. But yeah, I don't know. Herald got 72% win rate, so that wouldn't make any sense. I again, I don't know the stats, but like, just based off what I'm seeing, yeah, you know.
Herald a 72% win rate in ranked.
That's fucking nuts. Holy shit. What bracket is that in there, Citadel? Is that like plat to legend or gold to legend or what? Like,
oh man.
Because I think, you know, in non-mirror matchups, yeah, but in what rating? Because I think that makes a big difference, right?
Oh, so if one if it's a non-mirror and one team has a herald and one team doesn't have a herald, the herald team will win 72% of the time. I mean, that's pretty gnarly, man. That's rough. Okay, that's rough. I mean,
yeah, that's nuts.
Yeah, and again, it comes down to what we were talking about earlier. Like, I can try and tie in that tangent into this, right, about the power levels, right? It's just so high, right? Like the power level is just so high on all of these classes, right? Like Herald, it just does so much damage. It's so fast. It does it insane. Yeah. Well, the thing about Legendary is that everyone's duo queuing, right? Like, I think the stats are going to get a bit skewed because like the duo queue stuff. Like, two good players who duo queue are just going to demolish like basically most teams, right? Like, you'll see very, very high skewed win rates, especially from players in Legendary, because typically players in Legendary play a lot of duo queue, and they'll play builds that are designed to be very good in ranked, right? So it's a bit weird in ranked, I suppose, right? Like, you're going to have a lot of people like just very good at holding 1vx and like trolling, while the other one dominates the team fight, right, or something like that with something like a Herald, and is able to be really active on the map, right? Like, it's funny actually. Like, well, it's not funny at all. It's exactly what you expect, right? Like, the way to win ranked is very different to how you win ATs, right? Like, winning ATs,
yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
You know, which is why we get these skewed balance, you know, patch notes, you know, like nerfing Hollow Corona Burst. Like, Hollow's probably Hollow, actually, aside from Weaver, it is the weakest class in competitive right now. I can say that quite handily. You know, Warrior is better because Warrior beats Chrono. Like, you know, it's quite incredible, really.
Yeah. And certainly that data-driven approach, as you say, I think a lot of people it's starting to wear on people a little bit, especially when if you do consistently take that approach, like that methodology doesn't necessarily generate fun. It will just make all the win rates the same, right? Eventually, right? Like, in theory, you'll eventually get it so all the win rates are the same if you keep tweaking and balancing like that. But it won't necessarily keep all the classes at a healthy level for the game, right? You know, it seems that this approach is leading them to have everything on a very high power level, right? Like, everything extremely very strong, right? Then instead of like taking down all the classes equally to a level more like at the end of HOT, what it's doing is it's equalizing them, but instead of equalizing them here, it ends up equalizing them here, right? And the thing is, that is, well, it's why Jaw doesn't want to play anymore, right? I mean, it's because it's just not fun at the end of the day. Like, a lot of these classes are just not fun. It's gone too far, and instead of they just consistently buff classes to make them as good as stuff that's already insane, right? Instead of instead of taking everything down. And a symptom of that is like we always talk about this stuff, right? But it's why you see stuff like Firebrand tome cooldowns getting absolutely slammed, right? Because instead of nerfing down the actual strength of the abilities, it's going, well, you can only use this once every like minute and a half now, so like get fucked, right? And it promotes this slightly annoying and static gameplay. So, well, I made a mistake or I used this too soon. I guess I'm dead now, right? I think like one mistake leading to your instant downfall is not good, especially for new players. And I think it's causing a lot of problems in PvP. I think a lot of people are becoming a bit disenfranchised with PvP especially when they're relatively new to the game mode, just because it's like, well, one mistake and you get instantly obliterated. And I actually feel the same way about world versus world as well. I think the world versus world meta is probably it's terrible, right? It's absolutely horrible. It's just, especially if you're a new player. If you're a new player and you go into world versus world and try and
one shot by COR,
fight, yeah, I mean, like I don't blame people for like not liking it, right, with the way it is right now. I would say it's difficult to enjoy in a large scale. I think in smaller scale, I think Scourge is more tolerable and Rev is more tolerable. But when it comes to like the large scale stuff, which is, let's be honest, guys, that's the majority of gameplay for most players, right? It is the relatively big. The big fights, right? We're talking, 30 plus is how it usually goes, right? In open field, right? I think the way the classes make that gameplay is actually terrible. It's horrible. It's not fun, guys. Like when you just get randomly one shot from 1200 range by a Rev who just crits you for 15k. It's like, oh,
dude,
fucking nice. I love it. It's
In a GV, it was in a scrim the other day. I play full minstrel scrap. Okay, yeah. I had Pros on me as well. So like we're looking big damage reduction. I still got hit for 12k by COR.
Oh!
I was like, what? I was like, what?
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, everyone needs to play minstrel now, dude.
And I think it was Cran or something. Got one shot on Minstrel Tempest by Volt.
Ooh.
Just wild power creep coming out, dude.
Yeah, and that's good.
Do you think
Do
you think that the changes to Scourge and Warrior bubble will change something about the world versus world meta? Do you think they will improve things?
Scourge, maybe. Like, you can certainly do some cool stuff with the Scourge thing, like precast Desert Shroud, because obviously it has a 3-second like wind up, and then like, if you're in stealth, they can't see the effects, right? So if you're in stealth and then precast it and then drop the shade, when it's about to hit, then yeah, you could, in theory, one shot one shot a group, 5 people, right?
Okay, I didn't even think of that. So...
But then you have, I assume it's small shade, right? Yeah, it's small shade, isn't it?
No. It replaces the corrupt trait, the middle trait, so you can do it with big shade.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, that's.
I think this. I honestly think that trait, the new. So basically, guys, there's this new. I don't know what it's called, but basically, there's a new trait. You know, the corruption trait. It's like Herald. I think it's like Herald of Woe is what they're changing it to. The name of the trait, and it changes your F5, your Sand Shroud, or Desert Shroud, whatever it's called, to Harbinger Shroud, which what it does is instead of having a pulsing AoE, right, for 6 seconds, what it actually does now is it changes it to a 3-second ticking time bomb, okay? And after the 3 seconds, it insta-spikes, okay? Oh, yeah, Herald of Sorrow, that's what it's called, okay? It insta-spikes for all of your Shroud at once, right? So it will do the 6 Torment, and it will do the 6 ticks instantly, right? Presumably as 1 damage packet, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's something else, even better, guys. And they haven't told us yet because we don't know this. We have to see the patch. But an undetermined amount of boon corrupt as well, right? It does some boon corrupt, right? It might be 1, might be 2. It'll be at 2 or 3. I think 3 would be too much. Maybe it's 1 though. I don't know. Because it already was 1, so no, it's going to be more than 1. It'll be 2.
It'll probably be 2. Probably be 2.
Yeah. I think that's probably a safe bet. So it's going to do like a double boon crowd, and this will all hit 10 targets, guys, as well, right? Because if you're in melee, And I honestly think that trait is potentially very scary. In PvP, obviously it's going to be very easy to dodge. I think it's not going to be good in PvP. But in World versus World, where it's less easy to dodge this stuff because of
Well,
the
if you
mega-aids.
have the engage with stealth, then like it's so easy to hit, like so easy to hit. They can't see it's coming, and then you can just fucking drop it on them.
With the
instantly.
stealth and the insta pop, that sounds pretty scary.
Yeah.
Like I thought when I saw it, I thought people they are going for like the thinking man necro style, right? Like you have to actually think, when am I gonna pop this, right? Because how am I gonna keep people in the explosion? Because it's gonna have this 3-second wind up, right? But if you can just insta pop it, that's gonna be pretty insane.
Sorry for stuttering. The thing is though, is that it does require good coordination. So, pulling that off isn't going to be like an easy thing for, you'll still get 1 or 2 people in pub groups, but like realistically in open world, wealthy worlds, on the Borderlands or whatever, like you can probably dodge that, if you've got eyes and a brain, that can spot a telegraph. Because I'd assume it'd use the same telegraph as they've been using for the other Shades abilities, right?
Yeah.
It would just be this really long 3-second one.
Yeah.
So, lots of time to dodge out of it. But yeah, like in GVG, it'll probably be pretty disgusting. The same kind of applies to Bubble, actually. I know you asked about that, Roca. So
the last thing I remembered was that Bubble was like one of the core skills everybody played around.
So Bubble is an interesting one, right? Because in open worlds, worldly worlds, like it's probably massive enough, right? Because you can't flank as easily, bigger numbers. You're not going to be able to stand in them either. It's no way. But in GVG, like I'm pretty confident you'd be able to pull it off, because well, we've already talked about this, haven't we? Basically, the way AoEs work, when they follow you around, is if you're stealthed, they don't appear. Okay, so as long as you don't take the trait that does damage when you boon rip, the bubble will probably be stealthed on release.
What?
I've already.
That sounds pretty insane.
I've already mentioned this because I think that's going to be fucking stupid. Okay, I think we can all agree that's fucking stupid. Okay, I've already mentioned this to devs, but their response on that one. So yeah, like I think if it's like that, then it's hugely problematic because you can just like Scrapper and Spellbreaker can just group up together, stealth up with the stealth gyro, of course, because you can't see the smoke field either because you're stealthed. And you can just run up straight onto the enemy group, open up bubble, okay, and stand there in stealth, okay. You do no damage, so you're not getting in combat or anything like that. But then your enemy group can just push right on, and you got Scrapper there to instantly counter pressure the bomb as well. So there's a lot of play you can do with Spellbreaker Bubble in GVG, okay. But yeah, I don't know. We will see.
Do you think that'll be something that a lot of groups will be able to pull off in like public Zergs?
No.
The general 90% of World versus World, though?
The average player, definitely not. Like, wins is dead for the average player, realistically. Yeah. It's only, I think, only really in small scale fights you're going to see Bubble being useful.
And to be honest, I think if we see this, if the stealth thing gets addressed, I kind of feel that it will actually be a bit of a nerf. Just in general, right? Because I do like the design of the change. Actually, I mean, if we talk about what it actually does, like what's happened to Wins, guys, is that it's changing from this thing you put down, like this AOE, this blob, this effect you put down. It's being changed from that, like you cast it, you drop it, you can move away. It's being changed to a channeled ability, right? And like Guardian Shield 5, it follows you around, right? Like you're channeling it. You're doing your warrior, and like I don't know how it's gonna be, ooh, right? And you can this bubble will project around you, and you can run around and move the bubble around with you, which is a really cool change. But the reason it's good design wise is because it adds some counterplay to it as well, right? So before, like if the warrior casts the bubble, that's it, right? The bubble is there, nothing you can do about it, okay? But now, when you cast the bubble, you can interrupt the warrior. right? You can corrupt the warrior, you can fear the warrior, you can knock them, whatever you want to do, right? You can actually shut it down. So I think design-wise, it's actually a pretty cool change. But I definitely think it may effectively lower the power level. A little bit of the skill, because like for a start, in open field, there's going to be so much spam. You're going to get CC'd instantly a lot of the time, and in a GVG, right? In a GVG, they're just going to, all right, like corrupt him. Like if he's got stab, you can insta corrupt him, right? And do it. If he doesn't know stab, just CC him, right?
Every decent group will be on the lookout for the starting animation, because it's got a half-second cast now. Yeah, half-second cast. And we don't know if it's still got the delay when it starts proccing. Maybe not. They've not mentioned anything about that. So, but it now procs every 0.5 seconds as well. So, it's very, if you can keep it up for a bit, like even 1 or 2 seconds, that's still big value, right? Because that's 2, maybe 3 boons that you strip. That's value. Okay. The expectation is that you're not going to keep it up for the full duration. No way you can keep it up for that full duration.
Well, it'd be very strong if you could. That'd be 10
if
boon,
you could,
right?
and if you did, okay, then you're a fucking god tier player, and the enemy team is trash. Okay, realistically, but yeah, like it's yeah, if you can get it off, then yeah. You're going to be. It's a skill based check now, which is good, rather than it just being a zoning tool that you can run behind someone and just drop it, and it's all good.
Yeah. Like to me, as a complete noob, it just sounds like way more interesting, way more engaging. Like I always kind of found it ugly that you just place this bubble and then you either move out or the enemy team, or you like prevent them to move out and like pull them in or something. I think that's what people did, right? They like CC'd them to stay in there.
You put the bubble, you CC any player caught in the bubble is like, oh well, I'm fucked, right?
And and wasn't it also just like if it fails your fight, like you're done, and if it works, you win? Wasn't it kind of like that as well? Like if it fails,
at POF release, it certainly was.
Less so now.
Nowadays, less so now, because they changed. It now has a 1 second delay on the start before it starts pulsing, which is like quite big. Because it's less easy to get caught, and it's it lasts less duration as well. So it's
Yeah.
Right.
No, cool. So I mean, overall, that's a fairly nice change for World versus World. I think it does come at a slightly unfortunate time though, because like Warrior has actually fallen out a bit of favor, as I understand it, in World versus World anyway, right? To a certain extent. So it's it's a shame that it gets a little bit more slack, because class diversity is really quite poor in World versus World right now. Like certainly in open, in GVG it's actually a bit better. Okay, so look ArenaNet. Trying to make GVG official. Look, the balance is better there. But yeah, in open field, like you pretty much just hard stack firebrands, revs, and scourges, and then maybe a few weavers, like a few warriors, and a few of those scrappers, man. But it just. The class diversity is a really big thing, I think. I do think there should be some kind of alternative support, right? Like Guardian, I honestly don't get it. Like it has to be intentional. Like when I start to think about some of this stuff, don't forget Chrono actually is pretty bad right now. I think actually in open field actually it's all you're there for is like Illusion of Life and Veil and Gravwell.
Yeah,
and that is a sad state of what the class once was. It really is actually.
And then you run Mimic.
Yeah,
for Illusion
to do it again, right? Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, but I with a lot of this stuff, it feels like it's intentional, right? Like ArenaNet wants it wants Guardian to be like the only good support, right? Or the only stability support, right? For World versus World. Obviously ArenaNet like wants the power level in PvP to be this high, right? And they want the game to be like this, and I don't know. I think we briefly. Go ahead.
I think we briefly touched on this earlier, right? Like, but I genuinely don't think they have any idea where they want to go with balance. I don't think they have any long-term goal. I think they just kind of sit down at the beginning of each, after each balance patch and go, oh yeah, what are we going to change this balance patch, guys? Like, and then bring up their stats and then bring up like maybe look at the forums a bit, maybe look at some Discords, and go, that's, and point at random stuff, like I have no clue. I have no clue, dude. Like it doesn't seem like there's any specific pattern to this.
Well, I mean, man, that's one thing that has actually kind of cropped up recently is that I think they do want to communicate a little bit more. So maybe we'll actually find out what they actually where they want to go.
That is certainly one thing I'm going to be asking is what is your overall plan for balance in the future? Because I think it's an important question.
Yeah, it really is a big question, and it is really pleasant to see. In the balance patch notes, we actually got them early, right, because of the various delays, right? If you take a look at the notes, there is actually there are some explanations, like some descriptions of what they wanted, some brief descriptions of that. Like, I think it will be good to like have in depth a more detailed conversation about this, and particularly as you say about the direction that they want to take the balance of the game. I mean, honestly, even on a broader scope than that, I would love to know like where the game is going in general, right? Right off the bat, like where do we want to go? With the game, but certainly the balance is an important one. Like, where do they want all these classes to be? Like, I don't know. It's right now it's very unclear, right? It's very unclear with where everything is supposed to be and what kind of meta game that ArenaNet actually want to have. I know that they really don't like Signet of Inspiration, but then again they try and nerf it, and then they accidentally basically make it exactly the same. I
guess it's hard to balance. It's probably like they probably have different ideas. Like, the thing is, like, if you completely remove it, that would hurt Mesmer so much, right? But and like the meta in total, if you just make Signet of Inspiration terrible, that would just that would be so massive.
This is explain this to one of me, Roca. Like, this one genuinely, it really gets my noggin jogging. Okay, like this one bamboozles me, right? So, Signet of Inspiration, yet again, guys. It's time for the chrono nerfs, or is it? Okay,
it's not really enough.
So like they reduced the boon extension of Signet of Inspiration from 5 seconds to 3 seconds. Wow, that's a harsh nerf, Roca. Wow, ouch. But they lowered the recharge time from 30 seconds to 20 seconds. So they simultaneously buff and nerf it. And it turns out, guys, that it basically works out the same.
You just have to use it more often, right?
Yeah. So, but then, this is what was weird, okay? Look. While we still think that Signet of Inspiration's new functionality is working well, it's a little too strong. So we're reducing both the recharge time and the extension of the boon duration, right? So they wanted to make Signet of Inspiration less powerful, right? But what they actually did was nothing, right? And it didn't change anything. So
I actually think the Signet of Inspiration changes kind of work in tandem with the spirit changes, because the spirits aren't going to pulse their boons anymore as they used to. So by having more Signet of Inspiration changes, you're actually going to be able to like extend the boon so you won't run out from the spirits. Like I think that's kind of the idea they had, right? Give you access to Signet of Inspiration earlier, because instead of having like every 3 to 5 seconds have like protection pulse out and be refreshed, you're going to have that only every like 10, 15 seconds now, I think, right? So by being able to like use Signet of Inspiration more often, you're going to be able to like extend that protection for that long. I think that's the idea they had there.
I mean, it's true, but in the overall scheme of things, the ability is still basically the same strength, right?
It's still the highest tier ability, right?
Yeah.
That has,
it's true that they wanted to make Mimic. They really want you to use Wells. Okay, they want you to use Wells, but so they reduced the cooldown of Signet, right, which effectively reduces the cooldown of Mimic as well, and then they reduced the cooldown of Mimic in addition to this. Yeah. So I don't get it, right? I mean, personally, I do kind of like Mimic. I think Mimic is a cool thing to have, and they do try and nerf it down. Now continues it doesn't affect it, etc., etc., etc. But now they buff it, so the cooldown is now 30 seconds. So, but this is actually a bigger change than you might think, right? Because now that Signet cooldown is lower as well, this effectively makes Mimic cooldown lower as well, because you're going to mimic the Signet. Before, it was a 40-second cooldown on Mimic and a 30-second Signet. So the way Mimic works, guys, is it resets the cooldown of something, but its cooldown increases by the cooldown of that ability, right? So Mimic's cooldown would previously be 40 seconds plus 30 seconds of the Signet, right? So 70 seconds. Now it's 30 seconds plus 20 seconds, so it's 50 seconds. So you can use Mimic more and use the signets more. And what is going on here? I mean, maybe I'm just not on the same level as ArenaNet. But it turns out that it's going to change almost nothing with regards to Mesmer. I love all the people freaking out about Mesmer, by the way, guys. Like, oh man, people always do this.
Every single patch, I get some great content out of this on the Guild Wars 2 subreddit. Oh no, I have to change my gear.
I understand it though to some extent because they have to change the gear.
I have to learn a different rotation.
Like, Chrono is very uncomfortable to be playing throughout Ellen's changes because like it's like you always have to change stuff. I can kind of understand it. I kind of understand.
No, I'm sorry. Like if you want to be optimal, you have to put in the time and effort. That is to be expected. Like if you're complaining about having to be optimal, I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you, dude. Like it's just not.
I mean, that's because you play PvP and it doesn't cost you anything to change.
No, like I wouldn't care. Like, dude, I'm gonna have to change my scrapper build in World v World. Like probably get some, like maybe swap around some gear or whatnot. Like oh dear, dude. Like oh no, maybe I have to spend some money. Tragic. Like I'm sorry, but like it's just not a complaint. It's not a valid complaint. If you want to be optimal, you have to be prepared to put in the time and effort.
And I'm not sure. It's a lot of effort. It's a lot of effort that you're like, kind of taking.
Of course.
Like and given that not every player wants to be super optimal, since
then
raids
don't have the optimal gear.
Everybody just like I don't know. I see that it's annoying that you have to change the same spec every patch basically. I do understand that.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I've almost been inclined to agree with Angeels. If you really are really upset about changing your gear, just like get a full commander set, then you'll never have to change your gear. Like you'll have
don't change it.
You'll easily have enough boon duration on that. Like and honestly, you won't even lose that much damage. Honestly, it's not that bad, right? If you just play full commanders or just play full diviner or something, right? It's like I don't know. It's yeah, it's annoying, but I mean, like the class is broken. Like, don't look, guys. It still is, and if anything, like it's the when they change Chrono, right? When they change Signet to extend boons instead of copy boons, like everyone thought that was a nerf, but like, realistically, it was probably a buff. Actually, the reason for that is that it ended up doing so much damage that you would see Chronos like going up to 20k DPS on like first phase VG sometimes. That is ridiculous. When I join Pugs, even now, I can sometimes get top DPS on Chrono, and that is just not right.
Cool, right?
That is disgusting.
Well, you want hybrid builds, don't you?
Yeah.
You want the hybrid builds. You always say
I love it.
You've been playing hybrid builds all along, Teapot.
Yeah, no, I love it, dude. I actually love it. I think it's a really fun change, but like balance wise, it's maybe not so good. It might be a little OP, but I mean, to get back to the main point of this, like, when you look at these changes, what they say and what they do, it does not always align, right? Like, in a way, the perfect example of this, I love this change so much. Like, it demonstrates this so perfectly. Okay, the danger time change, right? So they said the danger time trait ended up being too strong. We've been seeing some very high damage numbers coming out of Chronomancers who are also bringing support skills. Okay, that's fair enough. Actually, I think Power Chrono maybe is a bit too strong. It does a shit ton of DPS. Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, its benchmark is pretty sick, right? It's worth noting that it doesn't actually see. It's not really using speedruns except on Demos, if I recall correctly.
It is all the time.
Yeah,
it is used a lot. Yeah, it adds so much. It adds CC. It adds ultra high burst spikes. The only problem with it is that it kind of has like an extreme burst, and then it kind of falls off. So it's hard to use for bosses with heavy split phases. For example, that's why I don't see it on Gorzabal as much. But I think, like, we still run one Power Chrono on almost every boss, on almost every power boss. And then you also have the bosses where you can just straight up replace all the support classes with Power Chronos and just stack time warps.
That's nice.
And then you just play one Diviner Renegade, which is awesome because this comp actually allows you to play Diviner Renegade and be best in slot. But at the same time, every other class is just Power Chrono. And it's just like, okay, I'm Time Warp 1, you're Time Warp 2, you're Time Warp 3, we just chain these, and then we go, and then we just DPS the shit out of the boss. And you see that on a bunch of bosses. If you look at the top bosses, like that's Masada was here, that's Zara. You see Power Chrono on Slothosaur, you see it on Gorzeval on VG. That's all like great bosses for Power Chrono.
So
it actually is very present at the top of the food chain.
Fair enough. So it's so fair enough, right? It can have a bit of a slap, right? We should, give it a bit of a slap.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what do they do? What do they do here to Danger Time? The bonus critical hit chance this trait grants against slowed enemies has been reduced from 30% to 15%. Why is this change a funny change? Well, I'll tell you guys. Because it turns out that Power Chrono only needs about another 16% crit from this trait to actually cap. So, in other words, it's about a 1% DPS loss. They're nerfing the DPS with this Danger Time by 1%. Okay, yeah. Basically.
That's worth a build change if I've ever seen one.
So... it's just like, what the fuck? I don't know. This no support chrono using Danger Time, not Power Chrono, but you don't need the crit on support chrono either, really. You don't need 30% crit. You just don't need that much. This is the weird thing. Like, even on support chrono, you can still do it. Like, it won't really change that much. It won't be that much of a nerf. So again, like, why? It's just... it is very bamboozling that they do this, right? And the actual big nerf to Power Chrono was the Signet of the Ether change, right? Because for a long time you could triple cast all your phantasms, like, and just like have an entire army of illusions up at one time. They're actually, they're making it so that you can't enter continuum split with the aftercast and like duplicate everything, right? So I don't know. It's more like the ferocity on the Phantasm, which is like the really strong stuff.
And another thing about the Danger Time nerf is that Power Chronos, you could, if you go for like the optimal team comp, you can put the Power Chrono in the non-buff group, for example, right? Because it didn't require like spotter, etc. And now those are gonna be more important for this guy as well. He's gonna actually lose something for not being in that group, right? So that's an additional factor, I guess. But it's actually, I think somebody from my guild actually like tried to emulate what it would be like after the nerf, like adjusted his gear and he did his rotation in a different way, and he still came out with a pretty decent number.
Yeah, it was lofty. He's still got 36k DPS. Like it's going to be fine, right? It's going to be a perfectly fine build still. It's not the mega end of the world.
It might not be top dog anymore, but it might be, and I hope. I don't know. I just kind of want to keep playing Diviner Renegade, so I kind of hope that maybe that group comp might still have merit in the future. But
hybrid builds, dude. It's these hybrid builds, man. I don't think we should.
Diviner Renegade has been so much fun, dude. The Masada Overseer, I loved it, man, just for playing that class.
The mega hybrid builds, dude. It's what we need. It's what we need, and I think it's what we deserve. So hopefully that sticks around.
Do you think if they made hybrid support builds so DPS relevant that people would run it over the healing, that would actually make raids harder in a way? Because everybody, like, think back to like Condi Druid time, right? When people actually on a regular basis ran very low heal comms because the Condi Druid damage was just so good that you just wanted to keep it. And it was better than Scholar uptime, for example.
I actually think that a move in the direction of hybrid builds for raids would actually make the game a lot more fun, because it forces each player to actually engage with the fight a lot more. In the current state of the game, your mistakes can get covered up very easily by the type of composition that you're in. You're like a hard healer who can kind of carry you, if that makes any sense. It's the same with the Chronos. The Chronos can effectively carry really hard by blocking stuff for you, and the Druid can just like heal you up if you take too much damage, right? But if everyone had some responsibility with regards to healing and buffing and stuff like that, like suddenly everyone's mistakes would matter a lot more. And yeah, the game would become harder for a start, and that would probably make it more fun. But I actually think that hybrid builds would like hard lock people out of the game, right? Like, no joke, dude. Like, if it was actually like this, where everyone kind of had to pull their weight, and you couldn't just have like 3 good players and then like 7 chimps, which is kind of how you are now. It would be bad overall, because everyone would just wipe on VG and you'd be sad. Yeah.
And here's some sad news for hybrid builds. The spirit changes are probably a significant nerf to Condi Druid, etc., and like offensive Druid builds, which are rarely played, right? Barely anyone plays them except like very few speed, right? But
yeah,
it kind of is a nerf.
It is, because if you don't take nature magic, they're gonna die pretty fast, right? Unless you can.
Even if you if you don't have healing power, probably they're still gonna they might still die. I mean, I haven't been able to test it yet, obviously, right? I haven't been able to like play a Seraphs or something, or like a Connie build, but it might actually make it so that's less viable. But I mean, we'll have to see, right? But it's something that people are thinking about for Druid. At least, I don't know, us, we're thinking about it.
It's an odd thing with this spirit change, right? It's we're gonna have to see how easy it is to like overheal them, right? In the raid context, right? Like if because they lose, if you don't have nature magic, they lose something like 7.5%, right, of their health every 3 seconds.
Oh, you have to run nature magic. Right. They like without the boons, that's like one of the main points to bring Druid at this point.
Well, I mean, suppose you were running like a soul beast with the spirit, right? Okay, or something like that.
Oh yeah, that's definitely gonna take a hit. Yeah.
Suppose you were doing that, like you could still kind of get away with maybe healing them. Like if you have some other people who throw out a bit of healing now and again, like some AoE healing, like maybe they'll stay alive. They don't have to stay alive for that long because, of course, the phases of bosses are typically really short. So there is that, I guess. But
I guess it's kind of cool that you could technically have 100% uptime now if you heal them, right?
Yeah.
Even through all the phases. Like you could even move them now to certain spots during a fight. Get the perfect uptime on the spirits.
I think the upkeep thing alongside the banner thing is really good. A lot more active gameplay, which is fantastic.
Absolutely. The spirit changes are cool. I guess that's just like this little downside that, like, I guess the Condi builds are not going to be as good anymore, which is which I personally really enjoy. The Condi Druid is life, right? But the general player base, it's actually going to probably be a buff for most players.
Yep. I agree.
And it added depth to a mechanic that had 0 depth before.
Yeah.
Right? Like the spirit just didn't have any depth to it, and now it actually does. So that's pretty cool.
I agree. Again, it's kind of a design thing. Like the design is far superior now. Far superior.
Absolutely.
It's just not. It's just,
and I like
before it's so boring right now, but not so much anymore with the patch. Right?
I actually think, and I gotta like give the devs some credit here, that I think they actually sat down and they thought about how does this all play together. I think they did have the Druid changes in mind when they made the Signal of Inspiration changes. I think they want these to like play together, you know. And they probably even had the Tempest changes in mind when they did the SOI changes, you know. Which kind of gives me the feeling that they do look at like the balance and that they have a rather good idea of what the PvE balance at least is right now and where to like tweak things, you know?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think they do have
like way less boons, right? It's not just like passive pulsing out boons every couple of seconds. It's actually like an active ability that pulses the boon now, and that's going to be on a way longer cooldown than it was before. So they changed the Signal of Inspiration accordingly.
And with a smaller radius too, a smaller radius as well. So you're going to actually have to pay attention with your positioning on how you use this ability and how you apply boons to the team. I think the one thing that will really suffer in terms of uptime is going to be Vigor. I think Vigor is going to be relatively tricky to actually get a hold of right now, which is an interesting one. Like it's one of those boons that. It's like the sleeper boon. Like no one really notices Vigor, right? But Vigor is actually one of the best boons ever. It's so good. It's
in some comps you really want it too. Of course, right? If you play Daredevils, if you play Mirages, right, you really want that.
Yeah, absolutely. It is super powerful though. If you can actually get a hold of this boon, like dodging all over the place is really good. But I don't know. There's not much replacement for that, right? Like if you outside of Druid, like there's no real good way of getting Vigor onto your team, right? Like 10 target Vigor. Like it's everyone else is really bad at it. Like Warrior can do it with like offhand Warhorn, but that's basically it. It's pretty weak. In terms of the actual application of this. So I would have really liked, this would have been something that they could have done to like make heal Rev, particularly heal Renegade better. If they added Vigor onto say the Salvation trait line or something like that would have been really good, right?
Like Vigor has a cool state because it's this boon that you don't always have and that you actually have to think about. And it would actually be, I think it would actually be much cooler if that was like something that only a few niche classes have rather than the one main support class that everybody runs anyway. Right? It's like that could be the reason to bring a certain support class over another for a certain comp, right? Instead, it's just on the same class anyway, and he just has to change a skill. And
yeah. People are talking about Tempest Vigor, by the way. Like, you guys are actually wrong. If you take the 10-man shout trait, you'll actually have to give up the Vigor and Regen trait, so your shouts won't apply Regen anymore, guys, okay? So you can actually still do 10-man Vigor, because your Water Overload gives, I believe it gives Vigor at the end of it, I think. I think they added that to it, if I recall correctly. So there is that, okay? But... it's still, that's going to be, a little bit of execution will be required there. Like 10-man Vigor is actually pretty difficult to get a hold of. Actually.
It gives Vigor 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And if you combine that with the changes they did to what was the name, Sandsquall.
Yeah.
That's pretty good as well. And if you have a Chrono in there, then it could actually be a pretty good source for Vigor. Awesome.
No, yeah, I agree, and that's one thing I do like, the way that the game, certainly the design of the game is going. That I do like a lot of these things having boon extension. I really enjoy the idea of synergies between classes in a group context. Like, yeah, I like the idea of being able to say, okay, right, we've got 10 classes. Like, how can we like mix and match these? Right, we've got to figure out how to get all the boons. Like, all these classes can work together to get the uptime of quickness, of might, protection, and the same is true in World vs. World. This is one of the coolest things about World vs. World, in my opinion, which is why I've been sad to see the I guess the variety degenerate a little bit in World vs. World. Like, kind of figuring out, like, okay, we can have all these cool class synergies, right, between X class and Y class, right? Oh wow, this is awesome, right? But it turns out you just stack some Scourges and Revs up. I was like, oh, okay, oh. Yeah. But I don't know.
It's cool.
I much prefer synergy comps being good, right?
Exactly.
Like, but I think ArenaNet actually want the opposite of that. I think they want it to be more casual friendly, and effectively that means that everyone is like standalone and can be their own thing, be their own like separate package, right? And get work done, just by being them, right? Go ahead, Angeels. Yeah.
The problem with that though is that they've only really got 2 or 3 classes that can actually do that right now. Like in World v World specifically, like, obviously, open world at that, to be even more specific, like it's just not good. If they want to take that approach, they need to make sure that everything can kind of do a bit of everything, and be standalone. Otherwise, we're just going to see the same meta stay as it is.
Yeah, and well, I have nothing really to add to that. That is, Angeels has said exactly what the case is in World versus World. In particular, this is where you see the most extreme form of this, right? Most classes just don't have enough that works in that context. They just don't have enough to bring to the table, right? In certainly a large open field situation, and certainly the classes that do are vastly overtuned, right? Like, I don't understand why they don't just nerf Hammer Rev like exactly in World vs. World. They can balance split, Angeels. They can do it. I know they can do it. They do it all the time.
It's a really. I think there is a good reason for it, right?
Okay.
Because if you nerf Hammer Rev, okay, you also have to nerf other stuff as well. Because right now, whilst there are 3 classes like Rev, Necro, and Firebrands, they're all equally. They're really overpowered, but they're kind of equal, right? In their tier rating. If you nerf Rev, okay, then Scourge goes way up, right? Because Scourge can't be, Scourge can go way less tanky, okay? They can put more into Vitality, and they can just go, more damage and just literally spam Condis everywhere, okay? If you nerf Scourge though, then Rev becomes like even better, because there's nothing that can really pressure the Rev, right? Because those are the 2 counters, right, to both of those classes. And if you nerf both, then Firebrand just becomes so god tier that you have to stack them even more. So like it's, they've got to nerf kind of all 3 at the same time, which is kind of what we see in PvP as well. They've got this trifecta which they have to knock down a notch all at the same time. Otherwise, we're just going to see even more cancer, realistically.
And unfortunately, it does seem that ArenaNet is a little unwilling to actually to implement its changes like that.
Yeah,
it seems like we'll do this patch, and then the next patch, the next patch, and of course, then if you get into that mindset, then suddenly it all makes sense, right? Because then if you did that, it would like annihilate the World versus World balance for 6 months until they addressed all 3 of the classes, right? So yeah, of course they can't properly balance the game when they refuse to change more than 1 class at a time, radically, right? Of course, right? So it's just ugh. I mean, I don't know why limit yourself in that way though. Like, I mean, I realize that might be the case, but why? Why would you set that limiter? That yeah, we can only change something. We can only make one big change per patch, right? That is when you patch as infrequently as like every 3 months, like every PvP season, roughly. Like, that is a recipe for a clown fiesta, right? Like it makes the meta sticky, right? It takes so long to change, right? And even when they try and tug it in one direction, it kind of pings back because they can only change one thing at a time, it seems. And I don't know. Do they just not want to upset people by nerfing their class? Is that what it is? Do they just not want to do that?
I genuinely don't know. Like, it goes back to that whole thing of what are their balance, you know, where do they want to go with balance, right? Because like there just seems to be no logical reasoning behind some of these changes. Like, yeah, sure, Scrapper could have done with some changes to Gyro, but why now? Like, what's made them go, we need to change Scrapper right now?
Yeah.
You know, same with Tempest. Like, this is the balance patch where we need to change it. Like, believe me, I'm really happy with these changes. Okay, I'm really happy that they're coming. I'm just confused why now? Like, why change Chrono like last patch, or you know, whatever else they did? I can't remember. I don't think I was here for that. But you know, like, it's just, yeah, there's no reasoning behind it half the time.
I think like if you wanted to like massively rework a lot of classes for World versus World, you'd have to be pretty like hard on skill splitting, and I think that's just something they don't want to necessarily do. I think they want to keep PvE and World versus World as close as possible because I think they think a lot of like PvE players go like World versus World is the competitive mode that's closest to PvE. And I think they're thinking about newer players being confused by their skills being completely different in World versus World. So if they like completely rework the class for World versus World, they probably would try to make it in a way that it doesn't break PvE. And I think in PvE, people don't want those super massive changes quite as much. So it would probably be more upsetting in PvE.
Well,
you know what I mean?
But I don't. In a way, it's just a numerical thing, right? I think Revenant, like for example, just make the boon corrupt less, right? On set to 3. Like this change is like the Omega meme. Like, can we talk about this, guys? I'm actually hang on. I'm gonna add some tooltips to the stream because I want to show you.
I'm talking about massive changes. I'm saying like if you say we completely change the way Firebrand does boons, we completely change Scourges, and we like completely change, I don't know, Scrapper or something, like completely.
Well, no, I don't think they need. I don't think they need to do that, and I don't at all. I'm not. When I say radical changes, I just mean like seriously hit those numbers, man. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not talking like delete. You know, make it so that staff auto attack on Necro suddenly is like it randomly bounces all over the place, and all the marks just like they spawn on you and then surge out to your target or something like that. We don't need that. Okay, no, just like play with the numbers of it.
That's what okay. Yeah, that's what I thought you meant. Like reworks like corruption on Scourge or something. Something would be big impact but require a lot of like changes.
I know. I think you can have big impact with just playing with numbers effectively.
Yeah.
I think it's just I don't think that Revenant Hammer 2 should like be able to crit you for like 15k, like 12k on Minstrel, right? I just don't think that's right. I mean, is that really so much to ask, guys? I mean, you don't have to. You got to set the world on fire here.
Just dodge.
Yeah, just dodge, forehead.
Just dodge.
I think the prime example of this is, hang on, let me see if I can find this ability for us, guys. Okay, hang on, here we go. I'm gonna make this appear on the stream, guys. We're gonna look at it together, right? We're gonna have a look at this ability on stream. Wow, like here we go, guys. Oh, hang on, gotta just crop that out a little bit there. It's just,
you know, sorry to interject here, but I know you weren't saying it seriously, but like the whole just dodge meme for like Rift Hammer 2 is like, dude, like half the time only the bit that hits you appears.
Yeah,
like it's so.
Yeah, just dodge. What?
Just dodge.
I want to see if I wonder if I still have it.
Angeels?
But I have a clip. I have a clip from like near POF launch. Right, I'm on Hollow. I go do a reveal on an enemy group, and Rev does a Hammer 2 onto me. Okay.
Ooh.
And I get one shot, but the only bit that appears is the final chunk, the chunk that actually hits me. I'm like, how the fuck am I supposed to dodge that?
I don't know.
Just
Quick reactions.
Just sidestep it. Come on, you need to look at the rev, see him casting it, and get out of the way. Otherwise, you're just going to get right. But
how can you? Yeah, of course.
This is this ability here that we see on stream, guys. Like a lingering curse. This ability is so good in World versus World that you actually run this, which is a Condi trait, right, on power rev. Like that's a power scourge, right? That's how good this is. Okay, like it is an AOE. For triple boon drop. We are actually seeing the PvP version on the stream right now, guys. It says boons convert to... You know what is such a giant meme about this, Angeels? Is that they balance split this, right? For PvP only, right? Yep. They made it so it corrupts 2 boons in PvP, but randomly 3, okay, in PvE and World versus World. Like this...
I remember us commenting on this when we saw the notes, and we were like, "Wait, why the fuck isn't World included in this?" So it's so bizarre.
They deliberately made it so it was 3 in World versus World. Like, to be honest, it should be 1 in World versus World realistically, and even that is still really good. But you might actually not. Maybe that would weaken it enough that it would. You wouldn't take it on like every fucking necro build, okay? No matter what kind of damage you do. Like this trait is like the perfect example of like stuff that you could just change so easily, right? It will be so easy to fix this, right? Triple boon crop on a 10-second cooldown, right? And it's really fast cast time with almost no telegraph, guys, okay? It's basically instant. This ability is insane. Like just change it to 1. Like it will be so easy. Just put it in World versus World. 1 boon converted to a condition, right? It wouldn't even be hard. Like they did this with Big Shade, right? Like I think the Big Shade change was really good. Changing it to a 30-second cooldown in PvP, that was very, very good. Okay, very, very good. Because it rewarded Scourgers who were good and punished Scourgers who were bad while reducing the overall power level of the ability. Like, you have to really think about your shade placement, right? That is a good change. It was a good change. Like you can just tweak the numbers, right, and just adjust it. Like the main problem in World versus World is that just everything is just way too strong. And again, why don't they do something like this? Because if they did, they'd have to address Firebrand as well. Like Firebrand is still really, really good in World versus World. It still just heals so much. It cleanses so much. It has like mega resistance, like insane big boons, right? And healing at the same time. So it's like, yeah, you'd have to nerf that as well. Especially, this is where the true Clown Fiesta really kicks in, right, guys? Like when you take into consideration that World versus World has like every rune and unnerfed scaling on a lot of stuff, so you've got full minstrel with like monk runes and healing food. So it gets crazy, right? Your dodge rolls on Firebrand end up healing for around 4k or something like that. Or your auto attacks in Tome 2, like even if you just auto attack, which is like not even a very good ability in the heal tome, right? You'll heal like 5,000 in 1 hit on 5 targets. Like, it's out of control, man. I don't understand how this is acceptable. The balance is just completely fucked in a lot of places in World versus World, right? It's completely out of control. It's just please, ArenaNet, save us from the AIDS. Like this is why everyone's going like, oh boy, you know, we're going to get so many new players in World versus World on Tuesday, and that is true.
In 2 days,
and that is true. But they're going to get the fuck out, dude. Okay, very quickly, because they're going to try and play, and they're going to get splattered by like the 50-man kill squad of the enemy group that's got 30 Scourges, right? Just going crazy, like mashing their abilities as hard as they can. Hey, what I don't like is that it's true that World versus World open field has never been like the most crazy skilled gameplay. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, it was probably more brain dead in HOT, right? With like the Reaper stuff, but you didn't get punished as hard in those days, right? Like now. That little newbie, okay, he's just come in, he's got his Warclaw, he's going crazy, he's like, oh yeah, I've got my Warclaw, I'm gonna fight for my world, okay? He's there, at the front of the Zerg, he's like, oh boy, I can't wait to fight the enemy, and then he gets hit by like 3 Coalescences and 10 Shades and insta-dies. Like, well, that was shit, okay? Feels bad, man. And then he's out. Then he leaves the game as well. You know what? I'm going to go and use my Warclaw in Queensdale now instead. It'll be great. I'm going to have a good time. Like, this is what is going to happen on Tuesday, guys. Seriously. You know what I mean? Like, this is what is going to happen on Tuesday. Everyone's going to get smushed, and he's got his Warclaw, and then he's going to leave, because he's like, well, I got annihilated by World vs. Stop being bad. It's true. But the thing is, like, the game doesn't give you much of an opportunity to stop being bad with the way the game is right now. Yeah, our fourth guest, by the way, is Devouring Darkness. I can replace whoever was coming on. But
and
yeah,
the Hydra.
yeah, and the
He's
Hydra.
gone
Yeah,
now.
the Hydra is gone. The Hydra was here, but the Hydra is now gone.
Hands up.
Yeah, hands up. Thanks for the sub, but thanks for subs, by the way, guys. Yeah, thanks for the gifted sub too. But I don't. Never mind. I don't really call that out on tea time. It disrupts the flow, but we got a bit of downtime there. But it's so frustrating to me, actually. And honestly, guys, I can't believe I'm saying this, right? But in Bix's latest video, the hard truth about Guild Wars 2, right?
No.
Okay, like, this is something that I have always agreed with him on, actually, is that the game just, like, it's so new player unfriendly. That's true. Like, the game, it's this paradox. It's the ArenaNet paradox. Okay, that's what it is. Like, it's this casual, friendly game for everyone. It's like, oh yeah, everyone can play Guild Wars 2. Oh boy, we're gonna have so much fun in our casual MMO, right? But the game, when you go into World versus World and PvP, it just fists you, right? There's gonna be Citadel. He's there on his rev. He goes on you. He like sword fours you and one shots you. And I mean, what the fuck? And there's gonna be like 3 core guards in your low rated silver game. They're all gonna hammer to you and one shot you. It's just what you go in. What? It's like, oh, I heard the Realm versus Realm in this game. Guild Wars 2, World versus World. Holy shit. Let's get them. It's one of their unique features, guys. Okay, the unique features. You go in the game and you get hard one-shot by everything. It's like, what the fuck? I don't understand. I mean, it's true that, yeah, if you go in there and you don't know what you know what you're doing, you're going to get splattered all the time, right? But it gives you so little ability to adapt and improve, right? Overcome. Like, it doesn't give you enough time. Like, if you're a new player in these game modes, you're going to get obliterated again and again and again, right? And it's just never going to end. And then you die. And then you leave the game. And then you go back to the open world. And then it turns out that all the players in the game only do the ultra casual content, right? I wonder why, right? I wonder why. It's because it's not good for new players. Like, the game just, it throws you in at the deep end. It's the true irony of Guild Wars 2. Like, it always does this. Didn't used to as much, to be fair, but it with Path of Fire, it's got no mercy. The game has absolutely no mercy. I think that's a problem. I think the only place it doesn't do this is actually raids. I think raids are actually really new player friendly, but again, you have to have some understanding of how the game works, and this is a really difficult thing. I think this is just a sign of the times, in my opinion, because I have never had this problem, right? But when I start playing Guild Wars 2, I just read my abilities, right? I was like, holy shit, dude, this is pretty good, right? This is pretty good. And if you just look at what your abilities do and you understand what's necessary to be good in a raid, like, oh yeah, might. If you go through all the boons, guys, like, oh shit, might, 25 might, I probably want that. Quickness. Oh, yeah, that's pretty good. Alacrity. Oh, yeah, right? You're going to read this stuff and you'll figure out that this is probably, you want some classes that can do this for you. You can figure it out pretty easily, in my opinion. But I guess it's just a sign of the times that the reason why most people don't raid is because they just literally just don't know what their abilities do, right? It's just, yeah.
I think for like a completely new player, like it's kind of harsh to say that you can just read your skills and know what to do. It's like, because you don't know where the priorities are as a completely new player. You don't know, oh, should I go more into health? Does the raid require that? Maybe should I like maybe take a defensive trade over this, because you don't know what you're gonna expect, right? But
yeah, I don't think that's fair, especially in other MMOs as well. Like, for example, in WoW, like, having high health is actually quite useful. Like in fact, like, a lot of DPS gear will have stamina on it, right? Basically all gear in WoW has stamina on it, right? To increase your HP. So like, if you come from another game, it might be a bit confusing, right?
Yeah.
But I mean,
just like in general, I think like people are a little like I agree with you. I agree that like if people just kind of read their skills, you can get a pretty good idea of what you need, right? But I think often it's just like people underestimate how overwhelming it is to come into a new MMO and try to understand the system and how overwhelming that can be. Like, just to understand the basics, just to understand, oh, what are the stats I should go for? What are the, like, how much will I need more, I don't know, something that gives me more dodges, or will I need something that gives me more HP, or do I need something that gives me more damage? You know, like, just it's a little bit overwhelming at first, but I think that's kind of what like the lack of that is also what makes it new player unfriendly, right? You don't really get a lot of guiding material there.
Well, there's also certain good points in the chat as well. Like an MMO is always going to be a bit overwhelming and a bit new player unfriendly. This is always going to be the case, especially when it's so far down the line. If that makes any sense, right? We've come a long way in Guild Wars 2, right? Like we've been around for a little while, and it is one of the more complicated games, right? Just because of how intricate the design of the game is and how well the game is designed, right? In terms of the combat system and the boon system, the condition system, stuff like that, right? That it's a very well and intricately designed game. Okay, like don't get me wrong, guys. The game is really good and made really well. Okay, but that actually works against it in a lot of ways because there's actually a lot of complexity and a lot of depth. Okay, if you compare the kind of the amount of choices you have to make to get to the right answer in Guild Wars 2 compared to the amount of choices you have to make in something like Fortnite, okay, it's a fucking joke, right? Like you have a lot of decisions to make in Guild Wars 2 to get to the right answer in terms of like what build is the best. And then when you add like a game mode like Conquest into this for PvP, it's out of control, dude, okay? Because suddenly like you have to consider stuff like rotation in your balance considerations, right? Or like what you want on your class. Like on the face of it, something like Thief might not appear to be that good, right? Because it's like, well, I mean, you can't really 1v1 that well. Like in the team fight, it's kind of handy, I guess, but I mean, maybe not as good as some other things, right? But when it turns out that you've got this insane mobility and plus potential especially with when you think how good Steel is when you load up, it's like, wow, dude, like this is now we've got one hell of a class here, right? And that might not be immediately obvious to a lot of new players, right? Because of just the different playstyles and all the decision making that has to be made in a quite a complicated game mode. Conquest, a lot of people say that Conquest is a really simple and easy game mode. I actually disagree. I think Conquest has a lot of depth to it, and that's why it's such a good it's such a good game mode for PvP. Actually, this is one thing I don't know why people don't like Conquest. I think Conquest is really good, actually, but
realistically, it's because they're bad at it.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, well,
I think that's what
harsh truth. Yeah.
Like that.
No, I mean it's legitimately true. Like it's very difficult to be good at Conquest. You know?
Yeah, oh yeah. It definitely is. It's a high skill cap game mode for sure, right? It's,
and there's certainly been a dumbing down of the game modes in the of like the past year or so. But it's still high up there. People just don't understand how to play around. Well, what am I even saying? Whatever.
I think it's at least potentially super hard, right? It's at least like it kind of I think also depends on like how many players actually go hard for it, which I think is like probably the most limiting factor for SPVP.
Sure.
Like just that like the best players don't play it as actively, and so that even somebody like me, just by playing Druid, was able to at one point hit top 250, which is actually a joke because I played the game mode for a few weeks, right? That wasn't because the game mode is easy. That was because there was a lack of big competition playing at the time.
Yeah. And I think that's certainly the case. It's a bit of a vicious cycle, right? If that makes any sense, right? When it comes to PvP and World versus World, right? Like the high level players, the game does not change or get balanced. Like the concerns of the players doesn't get addressed, right? So the high level players get disenfranchised. Oh, look, Roy is here now. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
fresh from the GVG tournament. We were actually talking about that earlier as well. Wow. Okay, holy shit, is this GVG? Well, we've got Angeels here, so I mean it's kind of GVG. But anyway, okay, like you have the high level players get disenfranchised, right? Like the game becomes less competitive, it becomes more of a clown fiesta. Suddenly, it's more difficult for like anyone to have any fun, right? And the cycle just repeats, right? Like the game mode gets less attention because less people are interested in it, and it just goes round and round and round and round and round. And I think that is, I don't know, that's why the mount idea from World versus World is good. Okay, guys, you know what? That is going to bait people into the game mode. But honestly, I think people are not going to stick in World versus World. I think it's the same in PvP. Whenever they do some of these cool promotions for PvP or World versus World, there's going to be debate you on the mount. Do we add Roy to the call? Should we add Roy to the call?
Yeah, we can.
We can add Roy to the call. We can do that.
Go.
Okay, let's go. Let's add Roy.
You're gonna have to. Okay. You have to do all your interface again, though.
Yeah. Oh, fuck, man. Okay, fine. Let's add Roy. Let's bring him into the mix. Here we go. I'm bringing him in. The interface is ruined. Okay, look at that. I like it. Okay, there he is. Oh, He's got
Roy,
the suit.
what's going on?
Hello, Roy.
I just put the suit on for tea time, by the way. I wasn't.
Oh yeah. Nice. Okay,
So
good.
well prepared.
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta mute the stream.
Yeah. Roy is ready. So surprise guest, Roy.
Yeah.
Hooray!
Hello,
dude. How you doing, man?
guys. I had to host Teapot. I said, hey Teapot, can I be on Tea Time? He said, Roy, if you don't host me with at least 7,000 viewers, there's no way I'm ever talking to you again. I said, I'll do what I can, man. And that's the only reason I put a tournament on.
It's true.
So I could host him with enough viewers.
That's true. I mean, I wasn't going to leak that, but I mean, I guess I have no choice at this point. I mean, that is actually true, guys. But welcome to the show, Roy. Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
I'm sorry to hijack it.
Oh no problem at all. What did you want to talk about the mount? Because we were kind of talking about this in general, about like some of the problems with I suppose new players in World vs. World, like the way the balance is going, the way the game is going in general, in terms of kind of cross-pollinating the game modes, I suppose was one of the things we were discussing. So I mean, do you have any comments for that?
About the mount specifically, or?
Oh well, and if you want to talk about the mount, you can talk about the mount. Let's go.
Right. Well, I obviously don't know what you guys have said yet, and like I said, I apologize for sort of hijacking the stream here, but I did
typical American.
Yeah. But I hope you guys had a lovely tea time up until now. And yes, so the mount is coming out on Tuesday. There are a lot of things to discuss with the mount. First and foremost, I think that the way they released it was an issue, because I think that when they said they had an announcement for World vs. World, they shouldn't have said that. They should have, when they were able to say it was a mount, they should have said that, hey, we're going to release a mount for World vs. World, in my opinion. Because I feel like allowing people to speculate on what it could have been is not a good thing when it's something that the vast majority of World vs. World players specifically did not ask for in World vs. World. So that's number one. Number two, I also, by the way, I was never really anti-mounts in World vs. World. Am I lagging on Discord?
No, you said okay.
I think Discord's just lagging.
Okay, someone's saying robot, but hopefully people can hear me. Number two, I've always said that I don't think that mounts could not be in World vs. World entirely. I've always said I think it depends on how they do it. There are specific things that I would really like to see them not do if they added a mount to World vs. World. But beyond that, I don't know exactly. Well, I understand why they would add a mount, but I think that there were things that they needed or should fix with World vs. World that are, issues with World vs. World that alliances are not going to fix. And I don't think a mount is necessarily going to fix them. And even if it is, it's not the way that a lot of World vs. World players would want. So again, what this sort of shows to me is a disconnect from ArenaNet and the World vs. World community. And that's important because even if, let's just say the mount is actually not a bad thing. Let's just say it's a good addition. And maybe it is. I don't know. But even if it is a good addition, again, it's what a lot of people did not want. It's what a lot of people specifically said, we don't want to see this in World vs. World. Why would you add mounts to World vs. World? We don't want World vs. World to become more like PvE. It's not what we want. We want you to, and I'm not just saying that and it needs to cater to the community, by the way. I understand that a large majority of people in the World vs. World community is very fractured, very split. It's hard to really nail down what they want sometimes. But there are ways set up currently. There are dev discords that they communicate with the players through. There are the forums. There's Reddit that they communicate with the players through. And I did not see a huge outcrying for mounts. There were some. I grant you, there were some requests for it, but I did not see a huge outcrying for mounts. In fact, I saw the opposite, a huge outcrying to not add mounts. And so again, it exemplifies this disconnect that Arena has with the World vs. World community. I sort of lost my train of thought a little bit, unfortunately, but nonetheless, I also feel that some of the things they've done with the mount are not good. I don't think it should impact combat at all. That is number one. I've always said I don't think that if a mount is added to World vs. World, it should impact combat, because the biggest reason people wanted mounts anyways, right?
Mobility.
Is because to be able to get the number one request was, I want to mount, and I literally saw people write this in map chat just randomly in Lions Arch and Desert Borderlands shit. I want to be able to get back to the commander faster. Why is it that when I waypoint and the commander's all the way in the bottom of the map, I have to run all the way to him? It takes forever. I just died and I have to get back to tag. It takes forever. And that's fine. All right. If there's a mount that gets you back there you go. But it impacts combat. The number one skill on mount finishes down states. I mean, why? I don't that's very impactful in combat. Now you could say, oh, but you're never going to have a mount in combat anyways because it's going to die too fast. Well, they don't get CC'd. They have 3 evades that don't get CC'd. And they have a pounce ability, which again finishes, what is it, 10 down states?
Yes. No.
Has 12 KHP, which is significantly more than other mounts. And again, 12 KHP is not necessarily all that much when it comes to World vs. World. There's a lot of damage flying around. But
isn't that one rev? We were just joking about
yes.
revs doing like a large range 15k hits.
And you know what? I even said this to some of my friends. Here's the biggest counter argument to that is, if you are a small group trying to kill a bigger group, you just got absolutely cocked.
Well, I would say that the biggest problem with the finishing thing is more that if 2 groups are having a fight, they're going crazy, right? And then some people like come in from the side randomly, right? They might be able to get some insane finishes off with it, you know? Like that's a bit stupid. You know?
I'm looking at it from like the role play. I'm not a World vs. World player, obviously. I'm looking at it from like the outside angle, right? And I actually think the idea is pretty cool that you could have like 5 people on their mounts on the side, like, ready to jump in as soon as you get down states. And that might sound, maybe that's completely stupid. It just sounds amazing to me. That sounds like I'm thinking
that's
about.
No,
like,
that's
I'm
so
thinking about Lord of the Rings, like the Rin forces
It-
jumping into the sides of the enemy. Like I don't know. It sounds cool, but it's probably. I don't know. It's probably terrible.
Here's the thing.
You guys know that better.
Sorry,
than
I'll
me.
let you talk, but I just said a lot.
Well, I mean, what Roca is saying is kind of true. Like, it goes into the fantasy, but the thing is, like, that's not what the players actually want. Like, it's kind of like ArenaNet changing the game that way. To be honest, I don't actually think that's going to happen a lot. I actually think the mount will have very low impact. Actually, on
I agree
combat.
with that one.
I hope you're right.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very low impact. Like, to be honest, like it will be very easy just to knock someone off. If you try and like play around with the mounts. To be fair, the thing I don't like about the mount is sniff. I think sniff is really bad. Like suddenly you can't
like reveal.
Yeah, the reveal. A 5k AOE reveal. It's not like it doesn't de-stealth, right? But I don't like the fact that it will deny ambushes, right? I really dislike that. I think that shouldn't be the case. That
coupled.
Yeah, and I also think you shouldn't be able to stealth on it as well. I don't think you should be able to stealth on it.
Oh yeah, no,
100%. Maybe they actually patched that. To be fair, they might have actually patched that. We don't know. We don't.
Yeah, but that coupled with the recent change to Watchtower and Mark buff is it's moving away from stealth play. I mean, this is something that the World vs. World community is very split on, but a lot of people really like playing with stealth. And again, this goes back to what I was saying before about a number of fights. Stealth is something that players with less numbers have to use against players with more numbers. It's one of the biggest advantages you have as an outnumbered group. And ArenaNet has with this and the last change as well, with the mark debuff and the watchtowers and towers marking you and sentries marking you, and changing how it works. They have removed that, not completely removed, but they've made it a lot harder, and they've moved away from fights involving stealth, and that is not a good thing in my opinion. Also, there are 3 really important things I want to say, by the way, to the World vs. World community as a whole. There's something we have to keep in mind. First and foremost, this did not affect alliances whatsoever. So people saying, why would you do this? We want alliances. Don't say that, because I'm sure that this did not detract from alliances in any way whatsoever.
It's completely different. It's completely different development.
I was going to reply to you, Roy, earlier. Like, right, you said that like people think that it's like a disconnect between the community and ArenaNet. Actually, and I like take everything I say with a grain of salt, right? Because I'm not in the World vs. World community. But the way I see it is they wanted to bring like the core feature of their expansion to the game, and the problems you guys are seeing in the World vs. World community are being addressed by different teams at the same time, right? Like they're working on alliances, which I think is probably the biggest request from World vs. World. I think the other biggest problem is probably that you guys ask for different balance, which is also a different team, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, right? Or correct me if I'm seeing it mistakenly. The way I see it is like there's two teams working basically on the change, and the biggest problem is maybe that we don't hear what these teams are doing and what their timeline is. But it doesn't mean that the mount like takes away from these points, and these points are being addressed and have been announced to be addressed.
Right, and that's what I was. Sorry, go ahead, Angeels.
Well, I was going to quickly to add on to that about what ArenaNet is doing. Some guy said in chat that this Friday they're doing what's in the background stream. ArenaNet.
That'll be big.
So that could be Could be interesting.
Hopefully
Maybe
we'll
some
eventually stop.
updates on alliances and whatnot.
To bring the conversation back a little bit, to what we were talking about before, like the main problem I have with the mount is that the order of implementation. I think it's a really great way to bait a huge amount of people into trying the game mode, right? A massive, probably this will be like the queues this week will be mind-blowing.
It'll be like reward pips.
Okay,
It'll be like reward pips for
it will be earth-shattering queues across everywhere. Okay, that is a really good way to get people into trying it. But why didn't we fix the problems with the game mode first? Okay, like I think the number one thing is that, you know, they even had this opportunity, like the balance, dude. If they fixed class diversity and like actually gave more options instead of just like the very standard and very annoying to play against, a very anti-fun core of what World versus World is right now, okay, then you'd actually get people sticking. But right now, okay, that you're going to bring these new players in, right? They're going to play against like Mass, Firebrand, Scourge, Rev and go, this is AIDS. And then they're going to get the mount and then fuck off. So it's just, this entire thing is just so short term. It's just like, there's no vision, right? It's myopic in my opinion. Like the order they're doing. I think the mount, fair enough. I think you could actually, you could use that as a tool to bring player base back into the mix, right? Completely. You could, right? But it's at like the worst possible time. I think this is like one of the worst metas that World versus World has ever seen. Like the least interesting and most anti-fun that World versus World has ever been. It's like, I don't know, it's just such a bad time for it. Like it needs to fix the game and then bring people into the mix. I don't know. It's just not a good plan.
It's way more punishing to new players as well. The meta, that is.
Yeah.
It's way more punishing than H2 tier core was. Way more. And yeah, I agree. But what you were saying is, why did they do this before fixing problems with the game mode? I think it's because it was the easiest thing for them to do. I think that, again, I don't think that this was probably a lot of World versus World development time. I think it was probably people that like worked on the other mounts. Of course, I'm just guessing here, right? Really. But, you know, it probably was not very difficult for them to do. Like, I'm sure they had to spend some time like testing, and, you know, they had input from the World versus World developers and whatnot. And, you know, they were like, okay, you know, what could we add to this, you know, from a World versus World standpoint, whatever. But I'm sure that it was just a very easy thing to do. And again, I'm sure that from their point of view, and I'm not necessarily saying they're wrong here, they saw the pluses that was first and foremost a better way to monetize World versus World, which players have been asking for a very long time. And it is going to monetize World versus World because it's the amount that you can exclusively get in World versus World, as well as using PvE. And of course, there's going to be mount skins for it. It's going to, of course, again, allow players who have been asking to get back to tags to be able to cross the maps faster to do so. 100%. Don't have a problem with that. It's also going to add, not that this is going to be a long-term goal in any way, but it will add a short goal. Technically, it is content. And that is something that World vs. World and the game overall has lacked for a very long time, is content. But again, it's not something that I think people are going to stick around for. Dude, as TeaPot just said, the state of World vs. World, the fact that most people that are coming into World versus World to get it are only going to get it so they can use it in PvE. And I also saw a lot of people in the stream on Friday saying that they're not going to get it because the Jackal and the Raptor are better in PvE anyways, so they completely missed the point of it, but that's okay. It's also just some, you know, the last time we had a ton of new players enter World versus World was the reward pips. And there was a very, very bad reaction to it by the World vs. World community, by the way. And this is what I was going to touch upon before. Yes, it's not likely that probably 99% of the people coming into World vs. World for the first time on Tuesday to get them out are going to stay. Probably. But if every single World vs. World player says, hey, go fuck yourself, PvE players, get out of my map, get out of my game mode, it's not going to help. So don't do that. Seriously. It's not going to help. The mount's not going to change if you do that. The mount's not going to go away if you do that. You're also, like, if you're really upset about the mount, I don't know why you'd want to get the mount faster anyway, so you don't need to worry about it. So don't do that. All right? Seriously, don't do that. Because that did not help the last time.
I totally second that. From a PvE's perspective, I, like, formed a very bad opinion at that time of the World vs. World community. It's like, because I just thought, wow, they're cucking themselves so hard. Like, why would you? Why would you flame everybody that's entering your game out?
Look, I get that people I do, but it's this is this is not the same thing as gliding. By the way, I'm not saying it's the same thing as gliding. Turn the auto-tune off, dude.
The call is lagging a bit, guys. We're not exactly sure why. The call is lagging a bit.
Do you want to try changing the region of the call?
I think it's evened out now. It's evened out now.
Sometimes.
It's fine. It's just a bit. Yeah.
I relate this a little bit to like gliding, because when gliding was announced, so myself included, a lot of people were like, "This is it. World vs. World's over. This is a terrible change. You're adding PvE to World vs. World." And other than the fact that you can glide in combat, which you shouldn't be allowed to do, it hasn't really made World vs. World worse, in my opinion. And I do think that the mount being added is very different than gliding, but it's the same sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like I don't like the immediate reaction of, this is the worst thing ever. It's gonna kill World. Again, granted, I think that, as I said before, there are some things that are wrong with the mount and some things that are wrong with the implementation, and it might not have been the best thing for them to do, that maybe they should have been doing others. But nonetheless, in my opinion, and again, maybe on Tuesday I'm going to be very, very wrong here, it's better than nothing. Again, I'm saying that, again, maybe I'm really wrong, but I genuinely feel that it's better than nothing, because, again, this did not slow down alliances, and it did not take up dev time, in my opinion, a lot of dev time. And again, it will monetize World vs. World, and it has to bring some people into World vs. World. It has to. And again, maybe I'm being just optimistic here. I accept that, but I have to accept that, or believe that it's better than nothing, which is what we've had for a really long time.
I don't know. I think it's not a good time for it. It's especially, I don't know. I tend to agree that the way it was done was not ideal. I think a lot of World vs. World players who already played World vs. World were very excited for the announcement. It turns out it's a change not even targeted at them at all. I mean, is it better than nothing? I mean, it's technically better than nothing. Yeah. The thing is, though, I actually think it will end up being essentially nothing. For the vast majority of gameplay, I don't think it will really have that much impact. It's true that the main impact will probably be that you can defend stuff a bit easier because you can run back to structures faster, and you can also get back to your commander a bit easier as well, right, from across the map. Like, that's probably what I would anticipate the net effect will actually be. I think there will be the one thing that really bothers me, and I don't know, what do you think about this one, right? Like, the one thing that does scare me a little bit is, like, two Zergs are fighting, right? Okay. And then, like, a third one approaches. They're all on mounts, right? And they mount. I think that actually that does concern me a little bit. The finishing thing there. Like, I don't like the finishing thing. Yeah.
At least it'll help with skill lag, because people will die faster.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, here. Okay. So when I say that it's better than nothing, I don't know that I'd rather have this than nothing. It's not exactly what I mean. What I mean is it's literally something. So, like, they're technically giving it. I feel like a lot of what I'm saying is kind of postulated.
Yeah,
right? Because,
yeah. We don't know yet.
Because we don't know because, again, when gliding was first released, I was kind of like, okay, this doesn't make any sense. Why add this? We don't need it. It's not wanted, whatever. And now that it's been out, I'm like, okay, well, I don't really notice anything bad, again, besides being able to glide in combat. And all right, whatever. And although I don't think that's necessarily going to happen with this, I'm still going to just stay in that mentality until Tuesday. If Tuesday comes around and it sucks, then I'm going to say it sucks.
Yeah.
And I would rather have nothing than this. But as of now, I'm just going to stick with it something, and I'd rather have that than nothing. Maybe it'll be really, really bad. We'll have to see. I'm also going to remain really hopeful that, like Ben and Raymond said, they're going to keep an eye on it, and because it's a competitive mode, they can tweak it and change things. And I really hope that's true.
Yeah, I've heard that as well. I have. Yeah, so I think they will. I think they will get on it quickly. If the mount is like breaking the game, they'll just nerf it really hard, and just nerf the hell out of it, which would be a pretty good thing as well. Like, what I genuinely hope for the mount is that it effectively increases the action uptime, right? I hope it allows players to even when they die, they can get back in the action as fast as possible, right? Like, you want to be able to, so even if something goes wrong, like you die, you can get back in the action, reduce the downtime, less walking, and that if it just did that would be a pretty nice positive for the game, in my opinion. Like, it would certainly make defending again, like, the counterpoint to that is that it will make the defense a lot easier, in addition to the way gliding already has. But then again, right, it's You know, you already have stuff like emergency waypoint. Like, say, if you're upset about the mount, guys, okay, then I've got some bad news for you when it comes to the emergency waypoint. That's like a mega mount. It teleports you instantly into the structure you're trying to defend. That's even worse, right? So maybe that's not the biggest concern, right? Like, but yeah, people are not going to use mounts in GVG. Okay, I don't think.
No, they are definitely bad. Like, let's be real, guys.
That's also why I'm not actually upset about this, because well, this is not a good reason, by the way, but I hardly play World of Warcraft as it is. All I care about is GVG. So
I mean, I'm the same, Roy.
That's a sad thing, by the way. That's not a good thing. By the way, this is not going to make me play World of Warcraft more. I just want to put that out there. If this was like to try and get World of Warcraft players to play World of Warcraft more, I don't think that's going to happen.
To be frank, I think this is why people are upset about this, is because it's not. We've got a lot of World versus Worlders in chat, obviously, come over from Roy's stream right now. And the sad thing, this is not a change. I know. I was excited, like, oh wow, there's going to be these great World versus World changes, like some kind of maybe structure reward change or something like that. Maybe some kind of like pseudo season, right? At the end of the day, it's not targeted at players who are already playing World versus World. It's actually targeted at players outside of World versus World, which is obviously it's kind of like a bit of a slap in the face to the World versus World players, really, because it's we're updating World versus World. But not for you guys, for those guys, right? They don't even play, but we're doing it for them, right? Not for you, okay? And look, let's be real, guys. The great example that I gave on the announcement day is like, imagine if they released an open world PvE map that just arbitrarily had open world PvP as well. This is the same thing. Oh, it's better than nothing though. It's content. It's better than nothing. It's going to bring players in. It's going to bring those PvP and World versus Worlders into the open world, dude. Well, enjoy, right? So
I do want to say, like, and maybe some people are probably going to say World versus World players are entitled. Well, whatever you think about that. To be fair, I think a lot of World versus World players did originally come from PvE. I did. I didn't. I stepped foot into World versus World to literally do dailies. And the only reason I started playing World vs. World was because there was a really friendly commander there he was tagged up. I was running around in a golem to do a daily, and I was like, hey, I'll help you flip this bay. And then I got on TeamSpeak with him, and it just went from there. So I will say, a lot of World vs. World players probably have come from PvE. So, I do actually believe the argument that we have, you will get more World vs. World players from PvE players if they come in and try. I do believe that. But again, yes, this was not aimed at World vs. World players, in my opinion. Whether or not they say it was, I do not think that this was aimed at World vs. World players. And again, it'll monetize World vs. World. It'll maybe benefit things in World vs. World in some ways. But again, even though I said it's better than nothing, I don't think this is what they should have added to World vs. World if they were going to add something. But again, I think the reason they did it is because it's easy for them to do it, and because they can do it, very quickly. It's not something that takes a lot of resources for them to do.
Yeah.
But there you go.
Well, I think the mount thing has been a bit done to death, really. You know what I mean? Yeah. The best thing we can do is wait and see, really. I understand why people are upset, but to be frank, I think it will end up as not the biggest of deal in changing the World versus World gameplay, right? I guess especially seeing as you can organize stuff, right? For example, if you don't want to play mounts, right? Okay, you don't have to, right? Like, just talk to the enemy comm, and then you can just not play with the mount, right? Like, I mean, in my experience, like, most servers do actually have a certain level of honor about it, right? Like, maybe I'm a bit naive here, maybe I am a bit, but to be honest, like, it tends to work out pretty okay, right? I don't know. Well, it's
there'll be organized fights. Between commanders,
exactly.
And they won't use mounts.
Yeah.
Most commanders that tag up regularly know each other.
Yeah.
And they can organize fights with each other very easily. But I do want to just counter that. There will be people that are not part of the organization that are going to mount up anyways, and there'll be people just trying to troll that are mount up anyways, and just not care about it. So you're right. There probably will be fights that are going to be organized without mounts, outside of GVG, that is. But again, it's not, that's not necessarily a complete saving grace.
I think that, in order to actually correctly execute this stuff with the mounts, it's actually you have to be quite coordinated. I think, if you do it wrong, you're just going to get punished really hard. Right? If you try and leap on, but not everyone goes at the same time, like, if you're just going to spam AoEs and knock you off the mount, then you're dead. I mean, that's just how it's going to go. It should be fine. But I don't know. I don't know. What were we talking about before we got massively sidetracked by world versus world mounts, guys?
Yeah, that's my fault.
Obviously
sorry.
this Roy kid. Like, we're gonna kick this guy off. This is unbelievable, dude.
You just call me a kid. I'm older than you, bud.
Yeah. Oh, it's true.
Wait,
Not by long though. Okay.
Wait,
Over a week.
actually?
Yeah. Oh, he's got
I'm
me
9
by.
years older.
Yeah. No.
Roy looks so young
Yeah.
and innocent. You know?
I know. It's because I can't grow facial hair.
I feel you. This is all I got.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but finally, I guess for like the World vs. World stuff, I'd just say like Roy just kind of told everybody how he got into World vs. World. This is the chance for the World vs. World scene to get people in there exactly by that. Like, instead of like flaming people out, just invite them to like. Well, like, even you know what I really like. You know what I really like was that somebody actually made a Reddit post saying, "Hey, all you guys are gonna come to World vs. World. None of you guys are gonna know what you're doing. So here are tips right now already. Right, like." Prepare for it, and it's gonna help you so much, right?
Okay, here's the thing about this, and this is what. Okay, this is where you find a massive problem with the type of game that Guild Wars 2 is. Now, I want to make this very clear, guys. I'm not flaming any group of players here. This is just the reality of how this game is. Okay, look. Okay, listen up, my friends. Listen up, chat. Listen up, hosts. The people you're going to reach with that message already agree with you and will already do that. Okay,
but they're mostly the people in this stream.
Yes, realistic. Yeah, the people you actually want to talk to, which is the ultra casual players, right? Okay, don't want to do that. Okay, they want to run the same build in every game mode, right? The same class. Look, that guy who's playing his fucking ranger. All right, he's playing as pistol thief. He wants to play. He wants to play pistol thief in every single fucking game mode with whatever gear he has. It's always in the same gear. Okay.
I think that's like the 20k AP casual that comes from Guild Wars. He already has his fixed idea of what build he wants to play. He already has like
but that's
but
most
if you
people.
Talk about like the new player,
that's most people.
Well, like.
I think I don't know, dude. I think that most players are actually like that, to be honest. The play it your way, not wanting to do anything external, not looking up builds. I think that's actually the majority of the player base. Like it's so trust me, it is so difficult to do this. It's borderline impossible to convince people of this in fucking PV in raids, right? Let alone in a game mode that they don't actually play or have any investment in. Like if you went into like open world and told people to get to play good builds, right? People would go like, no, what the fuck, dude? I want to play my like full minion monster Necro, right?
The open world is like different though. Like open world is like meant for that. Open world is meant so you can play the role play.
You play PS of League every week on World vs. World. Oh my god. Sorry.
Like I feel like even in raids, if I find a completely new group and I go to them and I tell them, hey, dude, like, do you want me to give you tips and adjust your build? And you're gonna have so much more success. Like, most of the people accept that. There are the people that you're describing are definitely there, right? There are the people that say, no, I'm playing on my longbow because rangers are supposed to be range. That shit exists, but it's not like every player is like that. It's not like people absolutely don't want to improve. I would actually. And I can't believe that nobody who's coming into World vs. World will be that kind of player that you could get to like invest into proper gear or something.
It's not nobody, and the thing is, right? You will get a good chunk of people who will get the build, but it's more that a huge portion of the player base just doesn't care, right? The things that you value, which is efficiency, good performance, right? Which is what a lot of World vs. Worlders value, like being able to win those fights, like be good at stacking, be good at healing, like apply good boons. This is not something that a large portion of the player base actually cares about. They just want to basically get the shinies and then by any means necessary, then just get out.
I mean, like right now, you're gonna have a time where like a lot of players who haven't given World vs. World a chance yet are going to at least be there, and there's at least a chance that a bunch of people are gonna like. That you can convince some people or show them what's fun about World vs. World, basically. I actually think this is where where I really agree with you that it's a bad time to implement it because it's going to be harder in the current meta if that's really unfun. But like this is the chance where you get so many players that you could, like, I don't know, invite to your World vs. World guild and like tell them, hey, your job is gonna be to do like provide me with these boons so I can buff, or like I'm going to provide you with those boons and like kind of make them understand it so they have fun. And then they might stick around for it. I mean, it's.
I'd agree with you if you were talking about raiders, if you're talking about fractal players or raiders, but not open world players. Like when it comes to open world players, they very much stubborn. They want to play their way, and the thing is, and in a way they're right. Okay, guys, like, I know this is horrifying, and it's horrifying to me. They think it's their game, right? And in a way that you should bend to their will. And it's and the thing is, it is very much a tyranny of the majority, right? Like the thing is, like they outnumber every kind of player out there. Like that is the majority of the players, guys. Okay, so when they come into the game mode and play how they want, they don't like it when they're told to play something different, because they're the majority, right? And you are the minority. You know, you need to, you know, bow before their numerical advantage. So it's difficult to explain, but
I think if you stop treating new people like in a productive way because of the people that are idiots, I think you've already lost the game mode. If you're gonna stop inviting people into your guilds and groups, teach them how to play, because
look, seriously, good luck. No. All I can say, Roca, is good luck. I have so much experience trying to do this, and it's almost impossible. I don't have to tell you.
It's extremely demoralizing and frustrating to do it for years, and it never changes. Like, look, Roca, I agree. Like, I think that, you know, even if you. And by the way, I use this word very liberally. Fix 1 out of 10 players. I mean, that's a good thing, right? Because if you didn't try, then that 1 out of 10 players still wouldn't have done right. But it's so frustrating and demoralizing to just do it years after years after years and not see anything change. Because I mean, this is something that's very specific with the Rulers World community. You try so hard for so long to have servers and groups of people play correct builds, and I mean, literally. You will whisper somebody and be like, hey, you shouldn't run this signet, and they'll be like, fuck off. It's like, I'm trying to help you. Like, it's worse to run this, you know, and you see this everywhere. And it's and then like you spend time to make builds. You put in effort and time that you don't get rewarded for in any way whatsoever to try and help people, because it's better to do this. And they say, no, fuck off. Like, no, we don't want this. No, I can do whatever I want. It's my game I paid for. And okay, fine, but you're doing a 10th of the DPS that a support class is, like on a deep, you know, or whatever. It's just, it's very difficult to continue to say, yeah, but you should just keep trying. Yeah, you should just keep helping people. And I
understand that what I'm saying is like utopic, and I understand the issue. Like I get the frustration, right? It's just I'm saying that you like. Yeah. You can't let a chance like this go by and basically give in to the frustration.
Well, they aren't going to.
How long are you going to wait for the next influx of players like this in World vs. World? And in a month, half of the players that go
it'll be alliances, right? It'll be alliances.
Yeah, but who knows how long that'll take, right?
Yeah, another 3 years.
Sorry for saying it like this. But the thing is, in 1 month, half or like 90% of the players are gonna be gone probably. And I guess like even if you can like stock up your guild with like 5 more active players, maybe even just 3 more active players, that is still gonna be worth it. It's still gonna be cool to add to your ranks into your guilds.
I agree 100%. I really think that every single World vs. World player who really cares about the game mode should try to at least recruit some new players and help them out. I genuinely do, because whether or not we want mounts, they're happening. We might as well have more players, like that, you know.
I mean, we're doing it in Sen, right, Rory?
In Sen, yes. Oh yeah, Sen recruiting, guys.
Yeah.
Anyone who comes into World vs. World for their first time to get them out, make sure you whisper Thiskin. I love that. Oh boy, that would be great, dude. Oh, there he is in chat. No, there you go, guys. Thiskin123 on Twitch. Yeah, send him a PM, dude. He'd love to hear from you.
Accepting all applications, guys, okay? Everyone gets a chance.
We want to fill out the guild. 500
members. Okay.
There's no one in Sen, not a single person in Sen who would be toxic or rude to a new player. Not a one.
Very true.
Including the PvP players.
I don't know. I am very jaded about this, because like this is something that like honestly I used to play World vs. World a lot. This fact, the way some players are in this game, like annihilated my enjoyment of the game and ultimately made me quit. Because it was just like no matter what you did, in fact, honestly, like the only way to make people play half decent was effectively like flame the shit out of them, dude. Because like if you were nice to them, they would just keep doing what they were doing already, which was nothing. Okay, it is so fucking hard to convince people in this game, any player in this game, it's borderline impossible in raids, by the way, in my opinion. Like just getting 10 people to try and be good at raids is like is borderline impossible. Okay, like when you scale that to world versus world, okay, where you have to get very specific gear types, very specific builds, you have to do very specific things, you have to actually be paying attention quite a lot of the time. Okay, it is borderline I would even say like it is a Sisyphean task. Okay, like the harder you push on that rock, okay, the heavier the fucking rock gets in world versus world.
That's an
maybe instead of like asking people to like be helped, right? Maybe instead of like trying to force it on people, maybe at least like put in chat, hey, I don't know, we're trying to help new players. If you're interested, go on our Discord or something.
Do you think people don't do that?
Yeah. I mean, I think people do that. I say do that instead of like flaming, right? Do that and don't, instead of like going on the team chat and be like, oh fuck you all PvEers, you're all bullshit. Go back to your shitty raids.
Roca,
kids,
let me tell you something, okay? Like, first of all, you try and bargain. Like, you try and you do everything you can, but eventually you just get so fucking jaded.
You're talking about just 5 stages of accepting death.
So tired of all of the casual players who... No, I don't say casual players. All the people who have no interest... Yeah, casuals is the wrong word. It's all the people who are just so disinterested in trying and actively hate trying and improving.
Yeah.
Okay. All of those people, they just get to you eventually, and then you hate them. Okay. I mean, it's true though.
No, it's true. To be honest, I'm just like in like the depression phase, I guess. Like, I don't think I hate players like that. It's just that I just can't be bothered. Like, I really struggle to find motivation to even try to do this. Right? It's just like. I just think like, what is the fucking point, dude? Like, there's no way I can convince these people
I'm gonna tell you a secret right now, dude.
Agree, right?
I realized this years ago, dude, and I joined a GVG guild and I haven't looked back.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, man. That's it. GVG, dude. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I've said it so many times, dude.
I don't know. I honestly, Roca, I'm amazed you don't experience this. Honestly, you need to. I think. Right, who's leader? Who's LN leader? Who's LN leader, Roca?
Nightmare.
Okay, tell him to kick you and like ban you from the guild for a month. Raid with pugs only, like low LI, like 100 LI.
I've done that
it's
for
fucking
like,
hell. Okay.
I know.
Yeah.
I do that regularly still, and I understand it. It's not like I'm alien to this whole idea of like meeting people that are stubborn about stupid builds and being shit at the game. I understand this issue. Right? And yet, I say, well, if you're just gonna like say, well, okay, then we don't care about it. We're just gonna flame them out of a game mode. Well, then there you go. Then I mean,
I don't think
that,
flame
and it's not gonna.
Yeah, no, I actually agree with you. I actually agree with you. I think the toxicity
right?
is like a massive waste of time. Like, honestly, the world, in a way, the world versus world community is a bit of its own worst enemy. I do think a lot of people do get booted, right? They do get the boot, okay, and that you're not helping anyone by doing that. But look, it's just.
I'm gonna say that you can't be like complaining on Team Channel that everybody has to like smile and be like, oh guys, you're all so welcome, right? I'm just saying, give it an honest shot, because right now is a special time where you could get new players. And yes, 90% of these guys might stick to their stupid builds, and yes, it might be frustrating, but you might come out of it with more guildmates than you had before.
If there was ever a time to do it, it would be now.
Yeah, it's because, like, in 2 weeks it won't matter anymore. In 2 weeks you won't have the same influx of players anymore. And then it might take another year until alliances come out. And you're going to be out of members in your guild again. And you're going to be, like, running with pugs that come into World versus World because when it mattered, you didn't ask people to join your guild and you didn't help people out.
It's
what I'm saying.
The thing is, in World versus World, where there's a win-lose dynamic, it is very difficult to execute this. Because the thing is, so suppose you're against a server that is organized and you've got a lot of new players on your team. Like nobody is going to be having fun. Like that's the problem, because look, if you've got like a bunch of people running like if you've got 20 people with good builds and 30 people with garbage builds on your team, and the other server has 50 people with good builds, okay, you will get literally your ass. You will not even kill one of them, okay, right? You will not even get a single kill if they play their cards right. You won't even get one, okay? So the problem with that is that even if you're oh wow guys, yeah, go get yourself a good build, we're having so much fun. Like you're not having fun, dude. I'm sorry. Like if World vs. World is not fun when either side is like shit stomping the other one. Like it's not good. Like the gameplay is really bad unless it's fairly even, right? Because if all of your new players are getting obliterated, okay, by some organized group, like they're just gonna go like, dude, this is not fun. This sucks. Get the hell out of here, man. It's time to abort the mission. I don't know, dude. Like it's just so difficult to do this. Like you need to get World versus World, and PvP is not a game mode where you can have compromises, right? Like you cannot just say, let's have half our play. Half our players can be happy-go-lucky, friendly memes, right? And then like the other group is running something good. No, like you need everyone to be contributing, right? It's true that you don't need to do much, but you need to do it tiny bit, right? Like, but it's so hard to even convince people to attack while moving. Okay, like that's what I'm talking about, dude. I've been trying to teach people to attack while moving, and it never works.
Skills while moving,
dude.
But you can in World of Warcraft.
It's so insane, man. Like I honestly don't even know how to do it. Like the biggest problem that people have, I've had enough experience with trying to play with new players in World versus World that the biggest problem that new players have is attacking while moving. Okay, seriously.
Wait, how do I move?
God.
How do I move and click my skills at the same time?
Yeah.
Rory, don't trigger me.
Yeah.
Oh, you play with action camera.
Yes.
Yeah.
Of course.
It begs the question, how did the other people get 50 people to play right? Maybe there's something else to learn about that. Very interesting question, but there's a very good point and why that is usually like that. It's because what's happened in Guild Wars 2, okay, well, yeah, of course you can't move while trying to cast Phase Smash, guys. That's a bit different. There's a really big thing here, guys, okay? For a start, good players typically conglomerate together. Okay, so you end up with the stacking effect because of server transfers. But also, this is a really important point. This is really true in PvP as well, okay? There is almost no middle ground in World versus World. Like, you're either on a server that fucks people, or you're on a server that's dog shit. Okay, and this is really true in PvP, right? Like, the difference in skill level between, like, the top PvPers and like the mid-tier, the mid-tier PvPers is just like off the charts, right? It's like inconceivable how much better. Hang on, let me just check. Like, I think Syndra is like.
I'll give you an example.
Who's got high rating right now? Give me someone who's high rating.
All right.
Okay.
It's like the difference between Judges and Angeels. It's immense. The difference is immense.
Yep. It certainly is.
But in which direction? Okay, right?
Exactly.
But anyway, right? I don't know, like, rank 1 in PvP right now is a hell of a lot better, okay, than someone who's like merely 1750 rating. Like, that's just how it goes, right? Yeah, boys is trash. Okay?
You're like 1v5.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Boyce is carried by his class.
Yeah.
Just remember that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, first he just abuses Warrior, and now that Soul Beast is good, he abuses that. What's he gonna do next? My God.
Yeah.
Who is?
That was a fun monthly AT, wasn't it? Like the old 1v4 hold on Forest. Yeah, that was good. That was good.
But you're absolutely right. Like most people are either horrible or really good.
Yeah.
And there's obviously 99% are horrible and 1% is really good. But
and this is why, and this is just a problem with the way, kind of the state of the player base in the game, right? It's just because of the population stagnating in World versus World, and just the population in general, right? It's very difficult to rise up, right? Okay, because if you want to actually get better at World versus World, you're going to have to take some serious stomping, okay, before you can actually get there, right? Before you can actually start winning against good players, it's going to take you a very long time. And finding players from other game modes who are sticky enough and actually have got the will, right, the balls, right, the steel, right, to actually get there is borderline impossible, right? Like, especially in a game like Guild Wars 2, which is aimed at more casual players. It's almost impossible. Trust me, I know from experience.
I was just gonna say, I'm gonna let you in on a secret. When I started playing World vs. World, I still keyboard turned.
Okay.
All right, don't excommunicate me yet. And I'm now the best GG player in the game. All right, that's a big difference, boys. Okay, I'm just saying. You got to put a little time in. You know, you got to put some effort and work in to get there. All right, so all right. Think you know a guy?
Yeah, well, it's. I don't know. Didn't you have fun a while for Minion Master PvP? I mean, yes, Garkos. I had fun when we did unranked with triple Minion Master. Yes, I did. I did indeed. Okay, I did indeed. Yeah. Well, put most good World vs. World players in Dota 2 or something, and they're not really very good, low skill. Well, and it's true that World vs. World, particularly open field, like, yeah, sure, you don't have to be like a fucking mechanical beast. At the end of the day, the most important thing in World vs. World is like 3, 2, 1 spike. Yep, you'll probably win. Okay, and it's right. And I know this is going to be a big meme, guys, but this is one of the reasons why Kiss is like surprisingly effective in World vs. World. Like, they're not the best players in the world, but the thing is, they have this ability to all use their skills at the same time, and it actually kind of works out for them a lot of the time. And it's true for a lot of guilds, right? You don't have to be a god, right, to be effective in World vs. World. If you're on Necro, okay, right, and you put your shade at the same time as all the other Necros put the shade, yeah, you're probably going to have a pretty good time, right? That's going to work out well for you. So I don't know, dude. It's how it goes, right? It's how it goes. It is a very different skill set, which is another problem, right? Another problem with World vs. World, like, it's such a very, very different skill set, very different type of game, right? It's not about stuff like rotation in PvP or like taking 1v1s. It's all about playing as a team in that game, which is one of the most appealing things about it to me. Actually, it's a really very much a team-oriented game. It's not like raids. Again, like, raids are all about execution, right? Execution and optimizing, right? It's a different thing to World vs. World, right? Okay. As when I place the shade at the same time as the rest, I won't hit anything. Well, you've got to make sure you actually hit something. You got to do that too. That's good. Yeah. The toxicity, yeah, guys, the mega toxicity, super toxic, man. It's good. But I mean, either way, right? It's how dare you tell me where to put my shades exactly? I don't know. So, but no, Roca and Deroy are 100% right. At the end of the day, guys, give it your best shot, and I will as well. I will convince as many of my lads to get that Minstrel Guardian, get that fucking Scourge geared up. Okay. We're going to give it our best shot as well. I'm sure we'll try and have fun before we get clowned on. And then everyone quits like a few weeks, a few days after the mount is released.
Couple minutes,
yeah,
dude.
Couple of minutes, We'll do our best. What about the third option?
I get that mount and I'm straight back to Tangle.
I'm gonna log in, see the queues, and log out. Like,
yeah, the third option, get that rev going. There's your third option.
Or just go Edge of the Mists, right? If you're completely new, you can just go Edge of the Mist for it as well.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, and this is the other thing.
I will. Oh, yeah, I do want to just really quickly.
Yeah.
Edge of the Mist, guys. Not real World vs. World, okay? Just gonna say it. If you really want to experience World vs. World, don't go Edge of the Mist. It's not real World vs. World. Okay. Had to put it out there.
Hey, well, I mean, you can go to Edge of the Mist if you just want to get them out and then fuck off. I mean, that's a pretty.
But what if I get
option,
yeah, but I'm saying,
what if I get
if you
flamed
want
out of the actual maps? What if I get flamed out of, like, what if like 50 people?
Then you should go to the Guild Wars 2 official forums and complain, dude.
Learn the Edge of the Mist meta, you motherfucker.
What if they all tell me that I'm not actual World vs. World material? I need to go to Edge of the Mist.
Guild Wars 2 forums are the perfect place for you.
Oh yeah, that's good. That's good. How important is Ascended Gear in World vs. World? It's not that important, but it is.
Weapons are more important.
Yeah,
armor.
you want it, right? But it's not.
There's no reason not to.
Not going to be the end of the world, right? You know what I mean? It's
if you eventually you should get it.
Yeah, you should go for it.
And eventually you will get it from playing World v World a lot.
Oh,
so don't worry about it too much. If you just want to, if you're not sure you enjoy the game mode just yet, get some exotic gear, go in there, have a bit of fun, try it out. If you like it, you'll get a ton of gear from it.
All right, enough of talking about a dead game mode. Who cares?
Dead
Well,
game
did you guys already do the balance patch? I'm
Well,
assuming?
yeah,
Yeah.
we kind of went through all that. We didn't really talk about specifics. It was more like the general aspects and the effects it was going to have, like the effects it was going to have on the meta as it stands across all the game modes. But to be honest, I think we can borderline wrap up here. I think we kind of got through everything. We were actually talking about this exact topic, so don't worry, Roy. You didn't like hard derail us. We were actually already talking about this like before you. Weird coincidence, actually. Like,
he was just a typical American.
Perfect
dude.
timing.
Yeah,
really,
he's
right?
just trying to take over.
I'm only here to shuffle my
Yeah.
stream, dude.
I mean,
can't.
the thing is, I think what the reason we even hosted Angeels is because I actually had a few bots go in his chat and tell him that there's loads of oil in this stream. Okay, a lot of oil.
Oh yeah, where is the oil? I've been
yeah.
looking this whole time, man. I can't focus on this discussion. Like, I can smell it. I can feel that it's near,
Yeah.
but I can't find it.
Still the freedom.
It's on edge of the
How can
mist,
you
dude.
feel it?
It's
Yeah,
on
this
edge
is-
of the mist. You gotta go get
Alright,
the
Oh yeah, you got the oil barrel.
the oil barrels, man.
Dude, I've been holding one of those in my inventory for like 6 years.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because that's what you want to do, right? You want to get you want to always have the oil, right? So you just hand it in instantly, then you go pick one up while the event completes.
No, it's because I like linking it, dude.
Oh.
So people just know.
Oh, you've got the oil.
I enter a map and I link the oil barrel.
Yeah.
Like, shit, Roy's
Okay. Well,
freedom has entered.
yeah, the freedom has arrived. Okay. Well, do we have any? I mean, do we have any more comments on that? Like, I would definitely underline the fact that even though I'm been like, what's the point, man? Roca and Roy are completely right. This is a good opportunity. It's not the best time for it, but we can harvest
It's
some
happening no matter what.
fresh play. Yeah, I mean, you can't stop it, guys. There's no point in trying to stop the inevitable. The mounts are coming,
Join the
guys.
dark side.
The mounts are coming to War vs. War, and you will enjoy it. Okay.
Just like give it a try. I mean, if it's trash, then you can criticize then, but don't really do so before then. That's what I'd say.
And in terms of giving it a try, guys, look, if you're listening here, and there'll be a lot of players who have never tried World vs. World before. Okay, get yourself a good build. Okay, and honestly, even more important than getting a good build, by the way, guys, it is actually getting in
Join
voice.
communication.
Right, absolutely.
Yes.
That is if you don't want to get a good build, like, I want to play my fucking whatever, right? Okay. Most important thing, guys, is getting in voice. If you don't get in voice, you're a free kill, right? You're not going to be able to know what you're supposed to be doing. Okay, you're going to be useless, right? Okay, so get in voice. Get a vaguely good build, okay, on a relatively good class, guys. Okay, some classes just not going to cut it, guys. Okay, I don't want to see any longbow rangers. I don't want to see you guys playing that. Okay, don't do it. Don't play longbow. Just don't. Okay, if you're playing longbow ranger, you're doing it wrong. Okay, very bad.
From the World versus World new perspective, I've come in and you guys just like told me about a build and I got on Discord and I felt like I was relatively successful with little experience just from that. Just like a build. This communications.
Yep.
Listening to what the commander says.
But you were probably streaming, right? Like,
No.
no.
I joined TeaPot a fair amount back when we started playing World as well.
Okay.
And like I had no idea what's going on, and I just like from getting a build, like kind of reading what it's about and like listening to the cause. It's
But you learned World versus World from
Thanks
TeaTime.
so much. and it still worked, and we still like I think won a fair bit at.
Of course, we destroy fools, man.
And it felt like I was having a role. It felt like I actually had a sense in being there, not just like running around like, oh, what am I doing? Oh, there's a butterflies, and
Yeah.
Actually, like knowing what you do, it's fun, and that's when.
Of course, and again, like we are very much preaching to the choir. Like most players here are going to have that mentality, right? Already,
true.
They're going to have that.
Wait, really?
Yeah, most players we're talking to
I
right now
thought-
are going to have a good mentality.
I thought the casuals loved watching your stream.
Oh, I mean, plenty of them do. Plenty of them do. But I mean, yeah, like. Just give it a chance, guys. Have some fun in Wolfswood. It is a really great game mode, in my opinion. It really is fantastic. It can be a lot of fun if played, played in a good way, right? Okay, without the fiesta. Okay, like I think it can be good. So give it a try. Okay, give it a try. Get the builds. Get in voice. World versus World, lads. Let's try and actually get a few people to stick. Like we might as well. We can bolster the numbers before alliances. How about that? And convince a few people. And it is going to be
looking forward to playing my Berserker.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We'll be what again?
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna run Longbow Warriors because I saw a GVG guild do it. So a specific GVG.
It is going to be it will be hard, guys. Right, but And I know this is unfair, and trust me, guys. Like, I want all the World vs. World players who will get mildly triggered by what I'm about to say. Okay, I want you to know that I'm on your side.
Ready.
Okay, I am on your side, but I know this is ridiculous. But even a tiny bit of like, guys, what the fuck are you doing? That is actually enough to drive people away from the game. Trust me, it's enough people to drive people away from raids. Okay, like even saying that you wouldn't even consider toxicity is enough to upset and trigger some people. As simple as that. Like even the tiniest bit of flame is gonna like hard smush you. Okay, and it will get rid of them, and it will immediately scare them away. So B, just get on that get on that mask. Okay, big smiles.
PMA.
Big smiles, okay, and you ultra PMA, and it just might work, okay, guys. You've only got to do
That's
it.
not what I was saying, though.
Get
right?
some smileys in the chat, guys. Okay, smileys in the chat. Okay, let's go. Any smilers here, guys? Okay,
Me, smiley face.
Welcome to War vs. World. Yeah, I mean the thing is, Roca, I know that's not what you're saying, but it's actually a necessary consequence of what you're saying. It's the implementation for what you're saying requires that.
Yeah,
okay?
I don't want you to think that I'm trying to be this PMA Mother Teresa shit like some people.
You have to be though,
right? Like I'm just saying, like make the best out of it. Try to use the chances that yours has,
absolutely,
and not just like be negative and try to like look at all the negatives.
I 100% agree. I 100% agree with you, and I am ultimately on your side. So Dororo in the chat agreeing, I am on your guys' side, 100%. Okay.
Plus, if you're trying to get that Ultimate Dominator, it's going to be a good week for it.
Yeah, it's time to get those kills, boys.
I'm looking forward to making progress.
Farming
it
is go. Oh yeah, you got to tag some stuff with that. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Time to get some kills. All right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do a 72-hour command session. No, fuck that.
Yeah.
Why not, bro?
It's good.
Because I would never touch this game again if I did that.
Dude, you'd be commanding on Pyken too.
All right, have a good night, boys.
Yeah, I mean you got to get on that necro for those max tags, dude. Think about it. Like, the more people you hit, the more loot you get, the more kills you get, the more ultimate dominator you get, and the faster you rank up. Therefore, the faster you can max out the mount. Think about that, guys. Easy. All right, so I think it's about time to conclude the tea time. I think we've kind of wrapped it all up there. So, you know what? Let's start off. Our mystery guest is the GVG man himself. World vs. World extraordinaire. Pyken Square server leader. Guys.
For a time, yeah.
It's Roy. Okay? What are you up to these days?
Well, Teapot, thank you very much for asking. And I appreciate you letting me just jump on in here. Like this and hijack your stream. And I apologize to everybody who is going to watch the YouTube video and be like, finally tea time without Roy. And then midway through, they're like, no! But anyways, I just have a couple quick things to say. Twitch.tv/Angeels, Twitch.tv/Roca. Is it Roca Guild Wars 2 or Roca? Roca Guild Wars 2, I think. Easy Roca. Okay, Easy Roca. And Twitch.tv/MightyTeapot, which I guess you probably know already. You're you're encouraged to sub for free with Twitch Prime. And in fact, if you sub for free with Twitch Prime right now, then you skip all queues on Tuesday. So there you go.
Whoa.
There you go.
That's pretty crazy, man.
Good value.
That's insane.
Value. I'd do that. I'd do that right now.
That is actually some actual insane value. I mean, you certainly want to get on that, guys. So, what an excellent
I do have a legitimate plug. Sorry, yeah. Gregor is going to be streaming a GVG tonight for the NAGUD tournament. Make sure you check that out. It's going to be in 6 hours.
Stay tuned, guys, in 6 hours. So, then, moving on. He is the man who is wearing sunglasses right now, guys, indoors. He's also next to an alpaca and not moving at all. Okay, this is live cam, guys. You guys thought that Angeels is not showing cam. He is actually showing cam. He's been like this the entire time. Okay,
he's going for the world record of staying still.
Yeah, he is coming back to PvP, guys. He is the hard PvP 24-hour stream PvP main. Scrapper extraordinaire.
Angeels for 3 years in a row was worth it.
What's going on with you these days, man? When are we going to see some of that? Are you going to leak GVG footage live? Because I've seen a few clips of this leaks actually, but is it going to be a live leak soon?
Yeah, maybe. I've got some ideas of stuff I could do. Like maybe a guide or two or something.
Okay. Wait, you've been recording the GVGs?
Yes.
Why don't you ever upload footage, Angeels? We have to look over it.
So that I have to upload it, and I'm really lazy. But yeah, I've got some cool ideas. Maybe if you're interested, then yeah, just keep an eye out for that stuff. I guess.
Does the desk fare any better now that you play only GVG?
I mean, it was a metal desk in the first place, but it's got significantly fewer dents in it.
Yeah.
Wait, you smash? How is your hand not broken?
Is it mainly the PvP that causes that then, like the desk abuse? Is that...
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Yeah. All right.
Although when Roy goes down randomly during center raids,
yeah, because I don't have any support for my scrapper.
Okay, and then finally, the PvE elitist, guys. Probably I would go as far to say the most elitist player in the game right now, guys. It's Roca, okay? He's elite. He has made speedrun.com Guild Wars 2, okay? He is in many records. He's LN leader, guys, okay? Yeah? He was even... he left SC because they were too bad, okay? It's Roca.
Well, that one's true. Yeah. Obviously. Well, yeah. If you guys want to check out speedrun.com, that's something I've been spending a lot of time on recently, and it's growing pretty well. It's pretty cool. Like, if you guys are interested in like speedrunning, speed killing in Guild Wars 2, it's I don't know. I'm really happy with the activity there. Surprisingly active, really. Like, a lot of people say the raid scene is dead, right? But there's like uploads there pretty much every week, and it's cool to keep track of it. Yeah. So yeah, go check it out. We're approaching a new balance patch. That means that all the patch records are done now. That means that all of the, like, it's kind of like a reset for people who go for records. So now it's like the best time to check those out and look at a lot of cool kills.
Yeah.
All right, then finally, yes, it's me. All right. If you've enjoyed this tea time, guys, I do these every week, mostly. Okay, well, we are going to discuss the most important topics with the greatest minds in Guild Wars 2. So follow the stream for that, guys. If you want to support the stream further, keep me off the streets, doing what I do, not living in a cardboard box, then you know what to do, guys. It is time to subscribe right now with Twitch Prime. Okay, just go. You got Twitch Prime, guys? You got that little crown next to your name? You can subscribe for free, guys. That's easy sub, easy emotes, easy legendary insight. That can be you. You can also watch all the other tea times, guys, on YouTube. Follow me on Twitter for exciting memes.
Or
okay,
watch this one again.
What you could if you missed any of it, you could just watch it again. I mean, why would you want to watch any other tea time, really? Actually, the last week one, dude. The last one was fucking fire, dude. Like me and Zorik just like fucking going in, dude. That was good. That was and Deroy.
I heard the one before that too with Deroy. He was Deroy. I saw some clips, man.
Deroy like unleashing on the game. He really is, guys.
Dude. Feels bad.
Yeah. He went in, dude. He's in the chat right now, but he's I will stick around a little bit as well, guys.
I didn't want to come to this tea time initially because I thought the shoes are just too big to fill. Like the last tea times were so fire that
it is hard to keep up with it. It is actually.
Oh, I immediately accepted because I knew I could easily fill those shoes.
Oh yeah.
No
do you have big feet? Really big feet? Or?
No, my hands and feet are actually really small.
Well, you know what that means.
It's
all gone somewhere else. It's all gone somewhere else.
Ah, good one, right? Nice, good. By the way, guys, that's it. Follow, subscribe, okay, and watch every single stream. I stream every day. Blah blah blah. Follow these guys. Links below the stream. You can find all their channels, all their stuff. Of course, you've already heard from them. They're all amazing content creators, guys. Be sure to watch that. Watch all the GVGs too. GVGs are fucking sick, okay? And
sub for free with Twitch Prime the TeaPot. Sub for free with Twitch Prime the TeaPot. Sub for free Twitch Prime TeaTop.
Yep, very good. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys next time for the next stream for the next tea time. Goodbye, YouTube. Okay, but here on Twitch, we're gonna stay around a bit more. But yeah, YouTube, get the hell out of here. You're done.